cars on the road.
The $750,000 project was paid for with state transportation funds. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Councilmember Huizar says the new bike traffic signal system will help promote the city's Vision Zero program, which aims to make streets safer for cyclists and pedestrians and aims to wipe out traffic deaths. Well, riding public transit just got easier. A new customer service center maps out your routes, not just in the city of LA, but throughout LA County as well. Gil Reyes has more from downtown. Gil.
That is right, Yana. All your questions regarding public transit scheduling and public transit routes can be answered right here at this all-new space in the LA Mall, right next to City Hall. And all the information will be given to you in real time. Questions like how to get a bus ticket, how to transfer, can I bring my bike, can all be answered here face-to-face near the hub of LA City government.
I think it's important for us to have multiple ways to reach people. So, it's online, it's on your smartphone, but the brick and mortar customer service is really still one of the sort of core things that we want to make sure we have.
Salida Reynolds, general manager of the LA Department of Transportation, talking about the bigger and brighter LA DOT Customer Service Center in downtown. It steps from the old location at the LA Mall beneath City Hall East. New additions include these giant touchscreen wall monitors. They're like the ones in New York's Grand Central Station, except these feature LA maps, so you can plan and print out your LA routes.
People can come in here and look up all the transit agencies in LA County. So not just for us, because in Los Angeles, we have over 24 transit agencies. We also have real-time information, so you can actually see the live buses. So since we are in downtown, I will go ahead and select Dash A, and you can see where the bus is. So if you're downstairs or you're trying to get to Little Tokyo, you will see exactly where the bus is.
And it will tell you when your bus is arriving. LADOT also says it's the first transit agency in the country to feature mobile ticketing services on your smartphone.
You can actually, through your smartphone, purchase a ticket and use that to get on the bus. So you don't have to have a tap card, you don't have to fumble for change. It's just all there on your smartphone.
How to access mobile ticketing and the city's new Go LA app can be answered here. You can purchase tap cards here too. 4 full-time employees are at your service Monday through Friday. At the LA Mall, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The LADOT Customer Service Center is open Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Well, it's all about helping business owners prosper in Los Angeles. As Rasha Goel explains, the city is making it easier than ever to get new business off the ground.
The LA Times recently held a multicultural business forum to help provide information to existing and growing small businesses in the city. Attendees learned a wide variety of information.
Things such as marketing ideas, insights, information, legal, all the things that we know are important to small businesses and their success.
The business forums have been held for 3 years, but this year was expanded to a wider audience, with this particular forum geared towards women.
We started off with just Latino series. It used to be Abriendo Puertas. We, this year, launched the Multicultural Business Series, which includes Asian, African-American, Latino, LGBT, and women.
We believe that it is important. We believe that small businesses help to drive the local economy, and so we have to support it.
Ana Guerrero from Mayor Eric Garcetti's office was also there to offer advice on how to use city services.
If you're looking to start a new business, please explore our LA Business Portal and our Startup in a Day guide, both of which can be accessed through business.lacity.org.
We take the responsibility of making sure that we are able to connect and help our communities grow.
More information is available on www.latimes.com/multicultural forums. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The next Multicultural Business Forum will be held in September. While one of indie rock's biggest bands has raised millions of dollars for charity through innovation. As Gil Reyes reports, a member of the band Arcade Fire has fundraising advice for students at LA Trade Tech College.
Canadian indie rockers Arcade Fire have sold out concerts from Glastonbury, England to Coachella and have won even more praise for their humanitarian work. Since 2007, Arcade Fire has donated $1 for every ticket sold to relief in Haiti.
We're selling the tickets anyways. The people are coming to the shows anyways. Why aren't we all adding $1 on and having it go to the things that are really, really meaningful to us?
This, quote, simple but innovative idea coming from the band's touring violinist, Marika Anthony Shaw. It's helped raise more than $2 million for Haiti so far. Marika Anthony Shaw is the guest of honor at the recent Social Innovation Summit at LA Trade Tech College. Area Councilman Curran Price hopes the forum inspires others to think outside the box.
For opportunities, for goals, for dreams, making things happen.
Anthony Shaw has formed an organization called Plus One. It partners with other musical acts to donate proceeds of their earnings to charity.
And we're only just beginning. We'll have raised $4 million by the end of this year, $10 million by the end of next. And that's nothing. That's just music. But what about sports? What about any other time a fan community comes together to share something beautiful, exciting, passionate? Because what I would love to see is the normalizing of compassion.
And a better world for us all. From LA Trade Tech College, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
To learn more about Plus One and its growing movement of nonprofits and volunteers, log on to plusone.org. Body cameras for police officers get the green light. The city attorney cracks down on property owners who have converted their apartment buildings into short-term rentals. And Angelenos display their generous spirit by giving to those less fortunate. All these stories in City Beat. The Los Angeles City Council signed off on a $59 million plan to equip LAPD officers with body cameras and cell phones. The council voted to move ahead with a 5-year, $31 million contract to purchase about 7,000 body cameras and 4,400 stun guns. Los Angeles Police Commission officials say the cameras will make interactions with police officers more transparent, leading to fewer complaints from the public and potentially reducing incidences of excessive force or abuse by police officers. LA City Attorney Mike Feuer filed civil cases against the owners and operators of 3 rent-stabilized apartment buildings, alleging that they are illegally operating and advertising as hotels or short-term rentals. Feuer says the buildings are subject to the city's rent stabilization ordinance and that the building owners need to be held accountable for not complying with the law.
We live in a city with a profound shortage of affordable housing. And given that shortage of affordable housing, illegally converting rental units to hotels or short-term rents has got to stop.
Thousands of household items and lifestyle services were donated and gathered at local fire stations by hundreds of Angelenos and businesses as part of the Welcome Home Project, Mayor Eric Garcetti announced. Launched in May, the Welcome Home Project is an effort led by Garcetti to engage Angelenos in helping the most vulnerable residents. Garcetti's staff recruited Angelenos citywide to host gatherings of friends, neighbors, and colleagues to learn about the city's homelessness strategy and mobilize them to take action.
And I'm proud to say that Angelenos have gone above and beyond the call of duty. Hundreds of people who have come together to provide together in homes and businesses to provide plates, utensils, blankets, pillows, shampoo, nail clippers, frying pans, all the basic necessities.
Well, one day after gathering all those household supplies, Mayor Eric Garcetti helped move a family into their new home. Rasha Goel has more.
Good luck and keep your hopes up, because if you think negative, things negative are really going to happen.
Some encouraging advice from young Hannah, who recently moved into her new home at the Villas on Gower in Los Angeles with her mother and sister. Her mom, Anna, tells us what this new place means to them.
I hope you enjoy your
New, I think it's new home.
We were actually at the LA housing, transitional housing, waiting to see if we can qualify to come to our place. We were pretty much at our lowest, and now we can have a place to go home. So that's like a second start for me.
Anna and her daughters are among other families who have experienced homelessness and now have a place to call home. It's part of the mayor move-in, where Mayor Eric Garcetti was all hands-on.
I'm your mayor. Nice to meet you. Hey, how are you? Today is the big move-in day. Folks who have moved in recent days or even today are coming into housing, off of the streets, out of cars, and it's just an amazing way to connect Los Angeles with itself, to bring people together who care about homelessness with individuals.
The move-in is part of a bigger program where Angelinos are encouraged to sign up as volunteer hosts and invite friends, family, and neighbors to a gathering, guiding them through a discussion about homelessness in LA. The mayor's office supplies talking points and reference materials so that hosts are comfortable leading the discussion.
We're going to be doing this every 3 months. So get ready with your friends to host a house party. Bring these things together, toiletries and plates and mattresses and other things that people need. We'll come and we'll help you set that up, and then we'll help you do the next big move-in a few months from now.
The villas at Gower will provide homes for 125 individuals and families who have been homeless and have qualifying disabilities.
Well, homelessness was created one story at a time, one person, one family at a time, and we're going to solve it that same way.
It's an amazing, amazing, amazing feeling to be able to have our place and be able to call it home, right?
You feel very special.
I feel very special.
Yeah.
I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
More information on the Welcome Home project can be found at lamayor.org. Well, here's a way to escape the summer heat and stress of city life. Take a boat ride down the LA River. Ana Marcos goes kayaking with Paddle the LA River and comes back with this report.
Minutes away from the hustle and bustle of LA's urban wilderness is a different kind of wilderness where water and birds are often the only sounds. Paddle the LA River, run by the LA Conservation Corps, has brought out a school of kids for an afternoon kayak ride in the Sepulveda Wash.
I'm feeling a little bit nervous since I've never been kayaking before.
Someone else appears a little anxious as well.
I wasn't expecting this. Even getting to the kayaks is a challenge. Let's see how I do. It's probably freezing. Ah! Help! I'm stuck.
There are a few mishaps, like getting stuck on sandbars and paddling into trees, but soon both reporter and kids get the hang of it, and we are cruising upriver in our kayaks, enjoying the sights.
It's always nice to see all the youth get excited. They see there's plenty of wildlife here. It's mallard ducks, great blue herons, snowy egrets. As far as fish, we have mosquito fish, tilapia, catfish.
Others are also enjoying a lazy afternoon on the water.
We're fishing right here at the LA River.
Catching what?
Bass and carp.
The LA Conservation Corps gives at-risk kids training and jobs all year, but during the summer months, it takes school kids from all over LA out on the river for a taste of nature. And once a week, on Saturdays, it opens its boat tours to the public.
There's more companies doing, to be honest, but we're the only ones that charge way less, which is $30.
The 1.5-mile-long riverboat ride is over way too soon.
I like how I got to see the nature. It was so peaceful.
We don't even have to get out of Los Angeles and then enjoy something as fun as this.
And it seems even reporters enjoy a time out rowing boats gently down the stream. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
The boat tours run through September. For more information and pricing, visit paddlethelaRiver.org or laconservationcorps.org. As you just saw, there's plenty of fun to be had on the LA River this summer. And enjoy 4th of July as fireworks light up the sky in LA. All this in this week's Things to Do. Paddle the LA River is the premier kayaking experience in LA. LA Conservation Corps guides will lead you down a 1.5-mile natural soft-bottom stretch surrounded by native habitat along the LA River in the Sepulveda Basin. For more, visit paddlethelariver.org. Celebrate Independence Day at the Hollywood Bowl with the legendary rock and roll band Chicago. One of America's most popular rock bands, the Grammy-winning hitmakers Saturday in the Park, You're the Inspiration, and many more appear on 3 spectacular evenings featuring patriotic music, thrilling fireworks, and more fun. It all takes place at the Hollywood Bowl July 2nd through the 4th. For more, visit hollywoodbowl.com. With one of the most spectacular fireworks displays in Southern California, the 4th of July Fireworks Extravaganza at Warner Park delights over 60,000 people with a free concert and 15-minute spectacular fireworks display. There are over 20 local restaurants on hand, along with arts and crafts vendors and local businesses promoting and selling their goods. The event takes place on July 4th from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Come early. Warner Park is located at 5800 Topanga Canyon Boulevard in Woodland Hills. For more, visit valleycultural.org. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
My mom kept telling my dad to clear the brush from around our house because it was a fire hazard and clearing it could save our house someday. My dad kept saying he would do it someday. Then someday came and it was too late. Don't wait until it's too late. Clear the brush now.
Ever notice how we no longer focus our attention on one thing at a time? We don't just walk or even just drive. We focus on so many different objects, we don't notice the dangers ahead of us. We're a distracted society. We're blind to the importance of being safe, to the things that really matter. Blind to the things that could actually save our life. We're blind to everything surrounding us. Be aware. Move with care. Watch the road.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. Good morning. Today's date is Tuesday, June 28th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue Wesson. 13 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Price moves. Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Koretz moves. Martinez seconds. Next.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and it's time for the flag salute.
Okay, why don't we all rise? We'll be led by Mr. Buscaino today in our flag salute. All rise.
We all rise and pledge our allegiance to the greatest flag on the face of this earth. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Okay, let's go through the agenda.
Mr. President, there's a request to continue item 25 to Friday, July 1, and items 1C, F, and O to July 27th.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order. Continue.
The Department of Building and Safety recommends that the following items be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid in full. 1A, D, E, I, K, N, and the last item is N.
Okay, without objection, that'll be the order. Continue.
Items 1 through 3 are items noticed for public hearing.
Cards?
Yes, cards on all 3 items.
Let's hold those items and move on.
Items 4 through 27 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports have been submitted for items 6, 14, 16 through 20, 25, and 27.
Okay, special members, specials. Let's hold 14.
And we should hold items 9 and 10 as the committee reports have not been submitted.
Okay, so let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that brings us where?
Items 28 through 39 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards?
Yes, there are cards on 28, 36, 37, 38, and 39.
Let's hold those items and prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations. Item called special or general public comment.
Mr. Buscaino.
Mr. President, just I wanted to rise and thank the council's support of the reappointment of Commissioner Heather Repenning, Board of Public Works. Thank you, Commissioner, for your commitment, leadership, and leading the Board of Commissioners and the Public Works, and look forward to continuing working with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good luck, Heather. Good luck. I'm looking for, oh, there she is. Miss Martinez, the floor is yours.
Hi, lady. How are you? I didn't know you were here. Sorry. Is everybody here? Everybody fall in line?
Let me get in the back.
Are we all good? Good.
Number 1 on the test.
She's got to have people behind her. It looks
Congratulations.
Okay. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to welcome Deputy Chief Daryl Arbuthnot to City Council chambers this morning. Deputy Chief Arbuthnot is retiring from the Los Angeles Fire Department after more than 35 years of service. Let's give him a big round of applause. 35 years. I want to start off by saying thank you for your dedication you have given the fire department and to the residents of our great city. You pulled yourself up through the ranks as fire inspector, fire captain 1 and 2, battalion chief, assistant chief, and deputy chief. That wasn't easy as the department has grown and changed so much during those 35 years, but your perseverance prevailed. Chief Arbuthnot grew up in Los Angeles and is a graduate of Marshall High School. He was 14 years old when he got his first job working for Councilmember Tom LaBonge, who was then 19 years old and a supervisor on the city beautification program started by former Mayor Bradley. I gotta say, I love the fact that you're younger than Tom LaBonge. Some of you might not know this, but Daryl actually wanted to be a TV cameraman. He was studying cinema when he was approached by a fire recruiter. Thank goodness that we were able to change his idea of becoming a camera guy, and look at him now. He turned out to be pretty good, right? It's a good choice. Not surprisingly, your 18 years as chief officer alone have earned you the reputation of being confident, competent, and more than anything, a capable leader in our department. We must give credit for you for the development and authoring of countless department policies and procedures. Just to name a few, he was administrating of internal promotional interview processes, development of an informal mentoring program, and participated in the formal organizational boards. These are just some of the responsibilities that Daryl oversaw in the department. Not to mention the fundamental work he was able to accomplish in the development and implementation of the department's administrative creation of the 4th Bureau. This organizational change has been one of the most significant changes in the fire department in more than 125 years. Colleagues, Daryl has been a great asset not only to my office, but he's also been responsive and an outgoing member of our community, and we're going to miss him tremendously. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank him for his dedication not only to our residents in my council district for the San Fernando Valley, but to all Angelinos. And as always, I know I don't always, Mr. President, have the opportunity to make a lot of council presentations because I take that this duty very seriously. But when I do make council presentations, they have to be very, very special. And Daryl Arbuthnot is one of those very, very special men that I'm very, very proud to call my friend, that I owe a tremendous amount of gratitude for not only calling the Valley his home, his adopted home, but to taking such good care of my district in Council District 6. So I just want to give him a big round of applause. We're going to miss him, and I want to give Chief Terrazas an opportunity to say a few words as well.
Hope it's good.
Good morning, Council President Wesson, honorable City Council members, Councilmember Martinez. Thank you for allowing the LAFD to come here this morning to honor Chief Daryl Arbuthnot and to honor his career. As I thought about what I would say today, I thought about our past history. I met Daryl over 29 years ago when I was studying for inspector, and he already was an inspector. My first impressions were that he was very knowledgeable, he was very capable, he was very boisterous, very loud, and some things haven't changed. Later, as we promoted to Captain 1, we worked together at Fire Station 94, adjacent to Dorsey High School. And then later we promoted to battalion chief and worked together at Battalion 18 near the Grove. Then after that, we were division commanders in South Division, each running our own platoon in charge of the southern half of the city. And for the past 20 months, Chief Arbuthnot has been the Operations Valley Bureau Deputy Chief. And he's done a tremendous job, as Councilmember Martinez stated previously. He has been innovative, not afraid to challenge the status quo,
And most importantly to me, he's been passionate about the LAFD. I've adopted the belief that excellence occurs when an individual recognizes the opportunity and pursues it with a passion. Chief Arbuthnot took advantage of his opportunity as a deputy chief in the Valley to do great things, to do outstanding things, to achieve excellence in all that he does, except for golf, basketball, and handball. Those are the only 3 areas that I know he has not been excellent. He's been mediocre at best. So we're going to miss having that friendly, competitive spirit out on the court. Chief Arbuthnot, I'll play you again. Maybe things will change. On behalf of the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department, I want to thank you for your service to the people of Los Angeles, and we wish you well in your retirement. Congratulations, Daryl.
Ms. Martinez, Chief, just hold your horses a bit. A couple of quick things I want to say is you are definitely welcome to come and play golf with me. I think you would fit right in because we go for the fun, not for the game. But I just want to echo something that Ms. Martinez said. Being in leadership, I know she and I maybe don't do as many presentations. It's important to us that other members are given these opportunities. So when Ms. Martinez says that when she does these, they mean something, she is being so honest with you, sir. And the times that I've been to the Valley meeting with neighborhood councils or what have you, Chief was always there. I have yet to find anyone to have one bad word to say about you. He has represented the city well, the department well, a class act, and we really are going to miss you. So I just wanted to chime in and kind of reinforce when Ms. Martinez does something like this, she's emotional, and this comes from her heart when she lets you know how she feels about you. So with that said, I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Krikorian. And Mr. Krikorian, you can go play golf with us too. The Chief, you and I.
I'll fit right in too, Mr. President.
And we'll get Koretz to go with us. We have a foursome.
But I got to tell you, Chief, dissing a firefighter's handball game in his last week, that's cold. That's really cold. Ms. Martinez, thank you very much for bringing Chief Arbuthnot for a very well-deserved recognition. Chief Terrazas said how passionate he is about the LAFD, and that's certainly true. But the thing I want to note, too, is how passionate he has been about representing the Valley within the LAFD. And we all know how difficult it has been for the fire department for these last 8 years, going through the tremendous cuts that the department, like other departments, have endured. But somehow the leadership of this department has kept it together and continued to keep Angelenos safe. And the new bureau structure, which you've been implementing, Chief Terrazas, which has been a real godsend for the Valley, but especially so because we've had Chief Arbuthnot as the head at the helm in the Valley. I've never seen a time when the people of the Valley have felt more connected, personally connected, to their fire department as it has been under Chief Arbuthnot's leadership. So thank you, sir, for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment. And I should note, he's done all that without even having a permanent headquarters for Operations Valley Bureau. You know, basically working out of his suitcase in the Valley, and still he's made that happen. So it's something we're going to continue to work on, Chief, I promise you. But I'm sorry you're not going to be able to benefit from it, but we are going to continue to work on that. Thank you very much for your leadership. Congratulations on your incredible record of service, and your best wishes to you on your retirement as well.
Mr. Root.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Daryl, I mean, it's only been a year, but I feel like I've known you for such a long time, and I feel so sad because I finally learned how to pronounce your last name, Daryl Arbuthnot. It took me. I remember at all the various events I saw you at, I kept on butchering it. I practiced it 10 times before I went up there. But at the minute I get up on the mic, I butcher your last name, and I finally got it together, and now you're leaving. This is a tremendous loss for the city of L.A., but, I mean, after all, I guess you deserve a little break. But I do know that because of your passion for the city and your passion for service, I'm sure you're going to be engaged in a lot of other philanthropic and civic activities. And I welcome you with open arms in Council District 4. Anything you need, anything you want to participate in, and come on. I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Ms. Martinez, back to you. Okay, Chief, mic is yours.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Council. Again, I really appreciate this recognition. I'd like to specifically thank Councilman Nury Martinez. I've had nothing but a great time out in the Valley. I've been embraced by all 8 council districts, the neighborhood council groups. It's been a wonderful experience for me to end out my career. We've partnered very closely with LAPD, and I tell you...
Hold on, Chief. Hey, could we have some quiet? Shh. Sorry about that, sir.
Thank you. It's very seamless out there in the Valley, a great place for me to end my career. I'd also like to acknowledge my staff. They're here today from the Valley Bureau. If you guys wouldn't mind standing up, or if you're behind me. And they have really made my job easy. They never complained about our facility circumstances. They've just produced...
Well, let's give your staff...
I'd also like to acknowledge Chief Terrazas. Although he lied about the golf game, the first one we played, I have a card to prove, the scorecard, but I'm not going to mention that again. We have spent 30-plus years around each other, and you did the right selection by making him the fire chief. He's really steering the fire department towards the future. Great, really impressed with what he's done so far. So I appreciate that, Chief, your guidance and leadership. I feel very fortunate to have spent nearly 36 years serving the citizens of Los Angeles. Growing up as an Angelino, never thought I could be a firefighter. It just happened to work out this way, and I tell you, I've excelled, but I've enjoyed it all the way, and I've grown up basically into an adult because of the fire service. I'm going to remain in the city close by. I don't plan on moving out, so if I can help in any kind of way, I'm going to be available for that. And again, I'd like to also acknowledge my family who's here on my right. If you guys wouldn't mind standing up. They're all
Come
right
on,
here.
family, don't be shy. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you for all the support. They bought my first pair of boots when I came on the fire department. It was kind of interesting. And lastly, I just want to say, you know, as I walk out the door, working around the Bonge and everybody, the dedication to the city, I just feel honored that I was part of the greatest fire department in the world. And I know they're going to be successful as we change the guard out. We have a new crop, a new generation of firefighters coming up, and I just feel very proud to have been part of this whole progression. So thank you very much for this acknowledgement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for those kind words. Last week we had another retirement. Earl Paysinger retired after 41 years with LAPD. Now we have Chief Arbuthnot retiring after 35 years. I think these men have given so much of their life to this great city and serving the residents of Los Angeles. And I just want to give Chief Arbuthnot another big round of applause. Thank you so much, sir, for all the work and the leadership you've demonstrated in the fire department. And I want to invite the chief to come back and help me open the next brand new fire station in Council District 6. Absolutely. Thank you very much. On behalf of the city of Los Angeles, on your 35 years of service. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Koretz, are you ready?
You doing? Yeah.
Come on down.
Just scooch over a little. Unless you want to.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The chair recognizes Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Koretz for a very special presentation this morning.
Do you want to start? Go ahead.
Hey, David.
Well, good morning, colleagues. Today it's my great and special honor, though a bittersweet one, to salute a wonderful human being, David Siegel, who is leaving his Los Angeles post as Consul General of Israel after devoting 5 tremendous years of service here. And time and again, he has worked closely with us. He's been an invaluable diplomat and a beloved friend to us all and to the city, and so he will be greatly missed. I'm happy to be joined at this podium not just by David, but by my co-presenter, Councilmember Bob Blumenfield, our fellow Councilmember David Aru, and of course, City Attorney Mike Fewer, who I think has arrived. Yes, thank you. As well as Scott Swanken, the president of the College Board. We're here with pride and delight because Los Angeles has a transcendent bond of family and friendship with Israel. And so our city stands and will always stand resolutely with this great ally, which all too often has had to face monumental challenges and existential peril. David Siegel has been a champion for Israel no matter what, but also a champion for Los Angeles. David assumed the post of Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles in August 2011, and since then has been serving as the senior representative for the State of Israel to the southwestern United States. His career before arriving here was remarkably impressive and distinguished as well. His previous positions have included being Chief of Staff to Israel's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Chief of Staff to 3 of Israel's ambassadors to the United States, Counselor for Congressional Affairs, and spokesperson serving as Israel's voice to the Washington Press Corps and liaison to the U.S. Congress. He's also served in senior posts at Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Jerusalem, including as director of the International Organizations Department and political counselor in the North American Division. He's also been a commander in the Israel Defense Forces. David is a product of splendid American education, having graduated magna cum laude from the University of Vermont with a BA in political science, and earned a master's degree in international relations from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy in Boston. I mentioned that he's been a great friend and true friend to this city. And while I could list his many shared endeavors, I especially want to highlight how David has provided crucial insights and understandings regarding water policies. As many of you know, Israel has been at the forefront regarding enlightened water conservation technologies and practices for many decades and is becoming stronger and stronger in that area. And so in our time of climate change and drought, our friend the Consul General has always been willing and able to shed light on all the best options before us. And perhaps his most difficult challenge, he helped talk me into taking a trip to Israel. Despite my fear of long-distance flying. He was the first one to do so. Some of his predecessors tried but couldn't quite get me there. So I greatly appreciate that as well. And when I say he's been our friend, and I emphasize that our friendship includes not just David, but his wife, Myra Clark Siegel, and their 3 wonderful children, Noah, Eli, and Ben. Consul General Siegel will soon conclude his posting here in Los Angeles, where such postings normally last only 4 years, but is certain to take on many new challenges with his usual intelligence, charisma, and love for Los Angeles. And so well into the future, wherever he serves next, he is certain to spark many vital and vibrant relationships and interactions benefiting Israel as well as the people and communities of Los Angeles. So now I'm pleased to ask my esteemed colleague, Councilmember Bob Blumenfield, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Koretz. Thanks for helping put this together. So, wow, time has flown by since you've been our Consul General. I remember, in fact, we were just talking about it was about almost 5.5 years ago. I was in the legislature, and we were talking about this historic MOU between California and Los Angeles that I've been a part of, and we're trying to find where it was in the document, where the letter of intent was, and we've done so many things, collaboration together on policy initiatives, community events. It's hard to imagine, continuing on without you. Just in addition to the MOU, we were able to serve together alongside as the task force we created here in Los Angeles, where we were co-chairing the Los Angeles Israel Task Force. Has been a wonderful experience. Worked with us on the press conference in solidarity with Israel, and this body here did after the attack in Gaza. Many of the colleagues here participated in that press conference. Breaking bread more than a few times. I remember particularly on Passover with the Latino and African American communities at the Breed Street Shul on the east side. Emotional moments we've shared over these times, the Holocaust Remembrance Days, standing side by side there at the museum and other places, meeting at your office on national security affairs. You've done so much. I appreciated when I was in Israel a couple of years ago, you helped set up a tour of Ben Gurion Airport right after I became the chair of the committee that oversees the airport here, so I could learn from what was going on there, and I appreciated you. You helped make that happen even though it was thousands of miles away. Strategizing over meetings, lunch or two with Dylan and John on our staffs, trying to get diverse communities to work together has been a hallmark of what you've done, and I've really appreciated being able to do that with you together. I could keep the list going on. The point is, we've synced very well together. You've always had a progressive and pragmatic approach, which I really respect in the way that you've done things. Mr. Siegel, we're not just losing a diplomat. Really, in Los Angeles, we're losing a friend here in Los Angeles. David really became part of the fabric of Los Angeles, was sensitive to the ideas around here. He understood that we needed to collaborate as a city with Israel. We have so many of the same interests, not just the Mediterranean ecosystem, but green tech, clean tech, 2 innovation centers, 2 promised lands, and you helped bring that together. It should be evident that David's work with our city represented a historic opportunity for collaboration and innovation with our city and the state of Israel. David was more than just a figurehead. He worked hard to bring people from all religious and ethnic backgrounds together. He went into diverse communities to assist on various initiatives, and I really believe he's a shining example of a civic-minded person who wants to collaborate with all comers. Now, you might be able to attribute part of that to his work all over the world. As my colleague mentioned, he was born and raised in Vermont, while his wife Myra is from El Paso. The family moved to Israel when he was only 6 years old, and after he served as a commander in the Israeli Defense Forces, he came back to his birthplace. In the Israel Foreign Service, he was assigned to Eritrea on the Horn of Africa. He's participated with discussions on policy with our national administrations going back to the Clinton years, the first Clinton years, not just the future Clinton years. Knock on wood. He worked with Palestinians and Bedouins in numerous medical, public health, and education projects. And when he lobbied to be Consul General based in Los Angeles, this was a number of years ago, he was asked, why Los Angeles? And he responded, quote, Los Angeles is known for its warm and caring Jewish and Israeli communities, as well as an increasingly influential Latino population. Not to mention his wife's first language is Spanish. Now, something I failed to mention, He wasn't just the Consul General for us here in Los Angeles. It was for the entire Southwest region. That means 7 states, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and he had to slum it to go to Hawaii, and Southern California. I don't know how you managed all of that and were able to do so much with us here in Los Angeles, but we're very grateful that you did, and we're going to truly miss you. If we could control the Israeli government, we'd ask them to keep you assigned here even longer. But you're subject to term limits just as we are. But I do know no matter what you do next, the recipients of your tireless work ethic will be lucky to have you. And I hope you stay close by, phone call here or there. We can continue to work together on all the things that you've been a leader on. And I wish you and Myra and your 3 wonderful children the very best always.
And now I'd like to ask another of my esteemed colleagues, Councilmember David Ryu, to say a few words.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. I am very honored to be here today to thank and congratulate the Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles, David Siegel. And thank you to Councilmember Koretz and Councilmember Blumenfield for sharing all the good that David has done to build relationships and help our state in his time as Consul General of Israel for Los Angeles. And I'm not going to repeat them, but I've had the privilege of meeting the Consul General on many occasions. And I've always been grateful to the Consul for embracing me. You've always made it a point to include me in everything that you did, and I am very grateful for that. And while it's only been a year, it feels that I've known you. It feels like it's been a decade. And moreover, you're a bridge builder. You've helped strengthen the bonds between the U.S. and State of Israel, and there's much that Los Angeles has to learn from Israel, especially from its history, perseverance, and innovation. Los Angeles and I are proud to call David Siegel a friend, and thank you for your service and leadership to our community. And I feel really sorry for your successor because you've set such a high bar, and I don't know how he or she is going to be able to match that. And I don't see this as a goodbye because I hope that we could see each other next year in Jerusalem. So thank you.
And now I'd like to ask our great city attorney, Mike Feuer, to say a few words.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. President, members, I wanted to be here because I've had a real privilege to have a relationship with the Consul General since he began his tenure here in Los Angeles. As with Councilmember Blumenfield in the state legislature, we fostered a terrific relationship. And I want to say Consul General Siegel is a role model for what Consul General should be. Because not only does he represent his government, the State of Israel, impeccably, but he's also the source of very candid wisdom. His insights are always valuable, and he's able to convey them in a way that not only reflects the best interests of the State of Israel, but reflects what he finds would be the common ground with the best interests here in California and here in Los Angeles. So his words always resonate. He's a terrific listener, as well as a great public speaker. He and Myra have been wonderful hosts over the years. He is gracious, he is hospitable, and he earned respect here. He succeeded a terrific Consul General before him. But when David came here, he really broke the mold and made very clear to all of us what it means to have an effective partner representing the State of Israel on so many issues. They've been articulated already. I'm not going to go through them again. I want to conclude with this. If there were ever a partner representing another government one would want to have, it would be David Siegel. He is, in the truest sense of the word, a real mensch and will be tremendously missed by all of us. But ideally, David, it's a relationship that doesn't end with your departure. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. We look forward to finding out what that new chapter will reveal. Thanks very much for your service.
And lastly, I'd like to ask my good friend, President of the Community College Board of Trustees, Scott Swankin, to say a few words.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Councilman. And I want to wish the best to the Consul General. We met when he arrived. I was a field deputy for the Sheriff's Department, and we got to spend an hour together on the couch because the sheriff was running very, very late. It was a tremendous opportunity for me to get to know the emissary of the State of Israel. And as a young man growing up in the Jewish community in Los Angeles, I've gotten to know many consul generals, but there was something unique about this one. This consul general understood what it was like to be a Jewish kid in America, and that gave him a unique perspective. It allowed him to be one of the most compassionate and committed consul generals I've ever seen in my life, and Los Angeles has probably ever seen in our relationship with Israel. I want to share two quick stories. One is that today, not only do I get to stand here as president of the Los Angeles Community College District, the largest district in the nation, but I stand here on behalf of LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang. And the Consul General embraced Mayor Prang when he was in West Hollywood. It was clear that not only the Consul General but the State of Israel understood the importance of diversity and embracing the LGBT community. And together with Assessor Prang, the Consul General had events in West Hollywood to talk about the role of LGBT community in Israel and in Los Angeles. And that relationship will continue to grow and thrive as Los Angeles is the epicenter of the fight for LGBT rights, going to be the epicenter for the LGBT and Los Angeles fighting for gun control. The other thing I want to share is the Consul General helped lead an effort with Latino students to help Los Angeles Community College District give an opportunity for Latino students to go to Israel. And it is my hope that what we've begun to do together, the Community College District and the Consul General, will continue with the next one, because I hope with your predecessor, your successor, to sign an MOU so that students from Los Angeles, which is the most diverse student body in the world, our Latino students, our African American students, and all our students can visit Israel and understand what the struggles are of a democracy in the Middle East. So on behalf of the county assessor, the LA Community College Board, I want to thank you for your service, tell you how grateful I am. Not only were you a mensch to spend time with a lowly staffer on that couch for over an hour, but you have done well for Los Angeles and Israel's relationship for many decades to come, and I congratulate you.
And now we'd like to hear from our good friend, David Siegel.
Thank you. I want to thank this council for this recognition. I'm humbled. This, in my mind, is the greatest city in the world. It's been a great honor to represent the State of Israel here and to bring our diversity as a democracy in the Middle East and to connect to the diversity in this city. It's been a great, great privilege to work with our friends in city government and council. You've been allies and partners all through the 5 years. And LA has been a great friend to Israel. Defender, protector, ally, partner. And we've done some wonderful things together that are significant to both our countries. And we deeply believe that being an ally is not just internationally. Being an ally is also with local communities and local politicians. This brought to the fore the discussions about the Israel-California relationship. 2.5 years ago, we signed a very important memorandum of understanding between California and Israel. That, in turn, led to a clean tech task force establishment here in this council, and partnerships with other cities from Beverly Hills and counties to the Southern California Association of Governments, and many other partnerships that are significant, because we can bring our know-how and learn from each other on water, on alternative energy. And in fact, this week we have a water conference in Marina del Rey. 28 Israeli clean tech companies are right here in Los Angeles starting tonight, and they'll be innovating and partnering with people on the ground
here. We have a cybersecurity conference this week as well. So there are many, many activities that have been launched over these 5 years that we're very proud of. The challenge is to continue this momentum into the future and to take it in any which way that my successor chooses to do together with local partners here. I think we have platforms in place that are very, very important to our two communities, from education to mentoring to the environment and everything else that we work on together. One more word is, you've heard all the nice words, and I appreciate it, but everything that we achieve together, and we do it with the communities around us, and of course I do it with the incredible team that is standing behind me from the Israeli consulate here, that deeply, deeply cares about these relationships, both in the community and certainly with the political establishment around us. So it's a great honor to be your ally locally and to be the ally of the United States internationally, and both go hand in hand. And I hope that that legacy continues into the far future. So thank you all very much for this partnership and this honor.
Mr. President, anyone else waiting to speak?
There's not, but let me just personally thank Mr. Siegel for his service to Los Angeles. I was unaware that you're the one who talked Mr. Koretz into going on that trip to Israel that we took in December of 2013. Next time, please advise folks to dress appropriately. We were at the top of the Golan Heights in the middle of a snowstorm, and Mr. Koretz had nothing but, I think, his high school Letterman jacket on. I had to go to the canteen and get him a wool hat. Gail was texting me from the United States to take care of him. But it was a wonderful trip, and I look forward to seeing you back in Israel on my next trip. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz.
And now we're going to present this proclamation signed by the entire City Council and citywide elected officials. And I won't read the whole thing, but it concludes by congratulating him on his magnificent tenure as Consul General of Israel in Los Angeles, while wishing him the best in any new enterprise in the months and years to come following his return to Israel this summer. Consul General David Siegel has helped make the city of Los Angeles, the southwestern United States, the entirety of the United States of America, Israel, and the world, all better places in which to live. So it's our honor in presenting him this commendation from the city of Los Angeles.
Madam Clerk, why don't we move to items 9 and 10?
And on items 9 and 10, the committee reports have been submitted and circulated, and an opportunity for public comment was provided in committee.
All right, the reports have been circulated?
Correct.
All right. So let's prepare to vote. So open the roll. Tabulate the votes.
14 ayes.
All right, let us move now to item number 3. We have one speaker card. Mr. Walsh.
And for the record, items 9 and 10 have been approved.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, you're up.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This is hearing comments concerning bonding not to exceed $7 million for Discovery Charter Preparatory School. Well, this isn't in Sylmar. California. It's very important. Charter schools are very important. That's why Steve Barr, father of charter schools, is running for mayor. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, seeing no further speakers, the matter is before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the votes.
14 ayes.
All right, that brings us to item number 28. We have a number of speaker cards. Yvonne Michelle Autry, followed by Antonia Ramirez, John Walsh, Mr. Hunt,
Yes, thank you for an opportunity to address the City Council. My name is Yvonne Michelle Autry, and I was just in attendance of today's Police Commissioners meeting where the survivors, or the son and the sister, I believe, of the latest victim of a hanging of a black female was asking why was her mother murdered. On behalf of black women and all women who have been victims of sex trafficking, ritual murder, rape, dismemberment, decapitation, torture, victims of experiments perpetrated and funded by the United States government, much like the Tuskegee experiments were covered up until they were exposed. I'd like to just take this opportunity to speak on their behalf and in honoring the memory of this woman, Waukesha Wilson, Margaret Mitchell, Tyesha Miller, predominantly black women, because in all of in the process of accumulating the evidence, all of the women that were murdered were claimed that they were not human. So we are not seductresses. We are not animals to be ritualistically raped, experimented on, tortured, and then exterminated. You're exterminating black men at a much accelerated pace in the last few years because I suppose you have an imminent loss of power with Zionist Jews that are Jews in name only but are synagogues of Satan, and your extermination of black people and the perpetration of torture, CIA torture chambers.
Ms. Autry, you're getting way off topic here.
This is in defense of what's happening right now. I'm a survivor.
The question is the appointment of an individual to the Commission of the Status of Women.
This is on topic because you are responsible. Organized, targeted individuals, that would be TIs, have filed some referendums and affidavits relative to what I'm speaking on.
Thank you, Ms. Autry. Next speaker is Antonia Ramirez, followed by John Walsh, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Herman.
Ms. Autry is disrupting the meeting, Mr. President.
Yes, clerks, could you please remove her from the microphone? Thank you very much. Ms. Ramirez, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Dr. Jackie Filla, for those of us women who are victims of political gang stalking, as I am, unethical attorney misconduct, as I am, and violence against women by black thugs and black pimps and wetbacks and Chango gangbangers out on the streets bullying and vandalizing and robbing us consistently every night, because I do sleep on the streets, because I have been attacked and violated by council members and county board of supervisors, as well as many others unknown. The covert harassment, the bullying, and the homelessness is incredibly, it is torture. What have you done to resolve these issues in your previous confirmed appointment or just in your present confirmed appointment? Again, are you not going to touch these controversial areas, or are you a political puppet? As you can see, some of us, including myself, have been backlash. I would like to see you, Mrs. Filla, on the Commission on Status of Women, touching areas that most people and media will not touch, and that is gang stalking. That's the word I heard on coasttocoast.com. gang stalking because I didn't know the buzzword. Why was I being followed, harassed, vandalized? As you see, I carry my bags. I can't leave them anywhere because they tear my stuff and rob me. So I'm asking you, can we talk about these problems that we women are facing every day, especially those of us who come here and expose this? We end up homeless. We end up being violated. We even get attacked and violated at night when we are sleeping. I mean, come on, man. Can we not find somebody or a group or entity, because it ain't the ACLU. It's too busy helping the goddamn wetbacks and gangbangers. Again, we need somebody who can have the balls to stand up and say, this is torture. It's enough. No more harassment against women. They need to be housed. If they are legally sane and they are responsible, they are decent human beings, they should be housed and they should not be attacked, violated, and robbed.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Mr. Walsh? Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Herman.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Again, what I do with these appointments, I check to find out whether they've ever been arrested or prosecuted for kiddie porn. Now, and she hasn't, so I'm 100% for her. But people are saying, John Walsh, no city commissioner was ever arrested for kiddie porn. Put in child porn, LA City Council appointee, and what comes out on the Google, the city commissioner resigns after FBI child porn raid. Yes, you did put in a child porner, you scumbags.
Mr. Hunt.
The Red Chief Hunt for the record.
Excuse me for just a second, Mr. Hunt. Ms. Autry is continuing to disrupt this meeting. If she makes one more outburst, I'm going to ask the Sergeant at Arms to escort her from the room. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
The Red Chief Hunt for the record. I like to say this. I like a lot of these women to be appointed in more positions than some of these bitch-ass council people who you yell at and they don't know what to do besides put a restraining order on you. So I'm going to nominate these women to become more leaderships because they're not as bitchy as some of these men. They act gay, and it's not just because they're gay. It's because they can't dish out their own medicine. So we need more women appointees in positions, and if you can dish it out, well, most women can dish it out and take it. A lot of these men can't dish out shit. But I just want to go back to my case law, Hunt versus the city of Los Angeles, when it said fuck white niggas too.
He's not talking about this side.
Meaning that there's niggas in every race, and include women, include everything. And Brandenburg versus Ohio protects me all the way.
He is not talking about this item. Brandenburg versus Ohio does not protect him on this item.
Mr. Hunt, please return to the topic at hand.
Is that on point now? I want more women appointed to these positions because they're not bitches.
Thank you. Mr. Herman, followed by Prentice Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. B. I know you got scared because those bad people up there that are staring at you want you to know that Jackie Fila, F-I-L-L-A, for the City Ethics Commissions, because we know that snitches get bitches and bitches get stitches, something of that degree. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the commission status of a woman. And you heard all the people say women have rights too. Not that all women are sacrificial for any position, but all women deserve to be equal like men. My mom was a bear one time until some poacher killed her. But now that Mr. Herman has me as a comfort pet, we want the commission to know that we love women. Herman loves women.
And I love women, Mr. Bonin. I hold my time to 1 minute only.
Final speaker for this item, Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins.
published the City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. In reference to the reappointment of Dr. Jackie Fila to the City Ethics Commission, I'd like to know if Dr. Jackie Fila will look at the complaints that I filed with the City Ethics Commission against President Herb Wesson, and I've suggested that we go into mediation. I even filed for mediation.
I'm sorry, sir, you're not speaking to the topic.
Yeah, this is a Ethics Commission, right?
This is an appointment of Dr. Fila to the Commission on the Status of Women.
And I said, would Dr. Jackie Fila find out if the complaints that I made against President Herb Wesson would be mediated? I tried to mediate them, and they haven't. Would Dr. Jackie Fila try and find that out?
He is not talking about this item.
Sorry?
It's better reserved for general public comment, this topic.
But this is about the City Ethics Commission and her appointment to it. I'm asking whether Dr. Jackie Fila is going to do anything about that.
Sir, she's not being appointed to the Ethics Commission. She's being appointed to the Commission on the Status of Women.
Communications from the Mayor and City Ethics Commission relative to the reappointment of Dr. Jackie Fila to the Commission on the Status of Women. Oh, this is about the status of women?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's, the status of women, boy. I'll blow that one. Huh. Okay, yeah, she should be appointed to the status of women.
Thank you very much. Dr. Fila, I recognize that you're in the room. I just want to thank you for your service, your willingness to continue to serve. Always glad to see another one of my constituents serving the city of Los Angeles. That brings us to the matter at hand. Oh, Ms. Martinez would like to be heard. Please.
Oh, thank you so much. I also wanted to thank Dr. Fila for agreeing to serve on the Commission on the Status of Women. She's actually ran a seminar here out of City Hall last semester where she had a group of young women coming and learning about the importance of women's leadership in the city of Los Angeles. She does tremendous work. Not only does she ensure that young women get exposed to elected officials, but she also does an amazing job as a role model. So I commend you, Dr. Fila. Congratulations. Give her a big round of applause. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Seeing no more speakers, the matter is before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
14 ayes.
Congratulations, and thanks again for being willing to serve. And Mr. Huizar, I believe you prepared for a presentation?
So sorry to keep you waiting. We had a bond that we're putting Yes. How are you, my friend? How you doing? I retired from the EDD.
Christy says we.
Working her way. You might want to do Danielle. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm really excited to be here today to acknowledge an organization that has provided us with music and fun and performances here in downtown LA for over 30 years. Now, these folks were here celebrating downtown LA before the Renaissance, before people actually saw the tremendous changes that we have seen over the last few years. And I wanted to thank them for 30 years of providing us some innovative and global music here in downtown Los Angeles. I'm talking about Grand Performances. Let's give them a big round of applause. Grand Performances is a nonprofit organization, and it presents free performing arts that reflect the best of global culture and inspire community among the diverse peoples of Los Angeles. Grand Performances' mission is to inspire community, celebrate diversity, and unite Los Angeles through free access to global performing arts. And if you look at their programming over the summer and throughout the year, you would see that it is indeed international, and that is what the city of Los Angeles is all about. It It is also important. It is also an important part of the ever-evolving cultural richness that downtown Los Angeles has to offer. Grand Performances has helped shape what downtown is today, and especially what Grand Avenue is today. It is a place here at where they perform at California Plaza, where the city's top cultural institutions such as the Music Center, Grand Park, LA Phil, LA Opera, and the Brown Museum are all in walking distance of each other. So with that, I'd like to welcome up our general manager for our arts department. What's the official name for
Cultural
the
Affairs.
Cultural Affairs? There you go. Danielle Brazel. Welcome.
Thank you, Council Member. When I heard that Grand Performances was receiving a proclamation this morning for 30 years of outstanding service for the city of Los Angeles, I dropped everything on my calendar and I made sure that I was able just to come and celebrate this moment with you. Many of you don't know this about Michael Alexander, but he used to be with the city family. He used to be the performing arts director for the Department of Cultural Affairs. And he's also somebody that was the first person to walk me into the city of Los Angeles, to City Hall, and showed me how to be the arts advocate and arts leader that I am today. So it's incredibly special that I can be here to honor this moment with you. Grand Performances is a longstanding partner with the city of Los Angeles, recognizing over 30 years of service in public-private partnerships. They are one of the outstanding grantees that our city dollars go to support free, outdoor, publicly accessible culture in our city that reflects the dynamic, diverse city that we live in. And it's organizations like Grand Performances that actually make the city of Los Angeles look so darn good in making sure that we're the creative capital of the world. Not only do they leverage millions of dollars based on the city's investment, they provide something that is simply just not easily produced in the city, which is an incredibly high level of cultural programming. And they've done it for 30 years, and we really hope that you do it for at least 30 more. So thank you so much, Councilmember Huizar, for giving me the opportunity to pay homage to my good friends and colleagues and mentors.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. And now, next, I'd like to introduce Michael Alexander. He is the Executive Director of Grand Performances. And for those of us who have had the pleasure of working with him, you would see his passion and his excitement that he has for the arts here in Los Angeles. And he has really been a driving force to make Grand Performances one of the best arts institutions here in the city of Los Angeles. And if you go to one of those events here at California Plaza, they are well orchestrated. It is run efficiently. But more importantly, you would see faces around that plaza filled with excitement about the performances, and it's all because of the excitement that Michael Alexander brings to them. So please welcome the Executive Director of Grand Performances, Michael Alexander. Michael.
Let me stop, if I can stop you, Michael, I want to recognize Mr. Cedillo for a few words.
Let me echo everything wonderful that's been said about Michael and Grand Performances. Thank you for all the years. You know, when you go through 30 years, you go through, all of us can think about our careers. There were good years and not so good years in our personal lives. And so, but one thing we always knew, that we could always go see a great performance because of that great price, right? And if we didn't like it, we get our money back. It was much appreciated. You've brought this global experience as the world gets smaller and smaller. You've taught us how to appreciate each other, and that's a real great attribute, particularly in our city where 144 languages are spoken. I want to thank you. One comes to mind, Gil Scott-Heron, a real incredible leader of our world. Just an incredible artist, and it was great to have Brian Jackson there and the band, and just what a great evening, and just many evenings. As you know, I used to go there as a law student and see these great performances, and now it's just great that when you do the afternoon shows, my granddaughter is able to be there and dance and listen to music from throughout the world. So I just, on behalf of so many families who go and appreciate the space, the availability, the welcome. Just thank you on behalf of those families and the city. Thank you so much. And finally, you were the inspiration, one of the inspirations for us to do our Latin Jazz Music Festival. And I appreciate your the discussions and the mentorship about, preserving these popular art forms. And so thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo, just as an aside, I went to college with Gil Scott-Heron.
Oh, my God.
Kind of watched him grow. His nickname was Spider-Man.
Yes, it was.
Because he was so gangly. But with that said, I'd like to recognize Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, just want to join my colleagues in celebrating grand performances. And Michael, your singular role in providing the guidance and the inspiration. These free performances have really opened up the world to us, and you've demonstrated time and time again that the arts is a real tool for economic development, community economic development. And so with the ethnic and cultural diversity that the arts brings and that you're able to provide a platform for, it just makes us all feel better. And so we just appreciate the unique role that Grand Performances has played and will continue to play in the cultural life of our community. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
All right. The floor finally is yours.
I'd like to just start by thanking our board members, our staff who are here, and I'd like to introduce our board chair, Rahul Marwa.
Let's give him a round of applause. Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to just address the council and for the recognition here for Grand Performances. Just wanted to say that we are very proud to be a city-initiated program. We take that trusteeship very seriously in preventing arts programming to the community of Los Angeles. And we work very hard. Our board and our staff is working very hard along with the city and the council to ensure that we're able to continue to provide that programming to the diverse peoples of Los Angeles for years and years to come. So with that, I want to let Michael Alexander share a few words also.
Well, like you, we all know the value of great staff, and I know that we wouldn't be recognizing Grand Performances today if it wasn't for an incredible staff of people that have been dedicated to the same mission. Because of public policy set by the City of Los Angeles, we're able to have this free concert series. We're a product of the Community Redevelopment Agency's efforts in downtown, and quite literally, if it hadn't been for the public policy set over 30 years ago, the program would not exist at all. But because of that, we've been able to prove that price is the barrier. People from every single one of your districts want to have cultural programming in their lives. We have people on our mailing list from every single one of your districts. They are in our audience, and we invite you to join us. I've noticed already that Councilwoman Martinez was looking at the schedule that we've circulated to all of you. Pick a program. You can get in touch with us. We'll get you a pair of seats. If you don't get in touch with us, we'll still get you on our stage to greet the audience, because it's important for our audiences to know the public-private partnerships that exist, how a city program working with private sector nonprofits and for-profits are able to bring this kind of cultural programming to the people of Los Angeles. So I thank you for the honor, and I look forward to seeing you all during the summer of programming that we're just commencing now. Thank you very, very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. And indeed, this has been a great partnership, and we really, truly value and appreciate the efforts and work that Grand Performances has put into this. And because of that, we wanted to acknowledge your 30 years here, and if Danielle can join me up here to present this resolution. And like I said, there's something for everyone there. I was once there watching a banda perform, and Nuri and others here know what banda music is. And to have something like that, it's as diverse as you can get. And Ozo Motley, a local band, they first started playing here at Grand Performances, and look at them now. Really LA-based band that they've done well and represent LA well, and they had some of the first performances there. So thank you so much for this. You have done an incredible job over 30 years, and not many organizations can say they've been around for 30 years, especially arts organizations. So congratulations on 30 years.
Again, thank you so very much, and congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. Okay, let's go to item 1. If I could get William Brown Jr. and Mr. Walsh.
And Mr. President, as the speakers move forward, there is a request to continue 1M for 30 days to July 27th.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Yes, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is William Brown. I'm an attorney. I'm appearing on behalf of an entity by the name of the Mortgage Law Firm. The Mortgage Law Firm represents the lender of the property that's subject to the violations of Fannie Mae or FNMA, and also the servicer of the loan, which is Soteris, Inc. I just basically wanted to make a record with the council to verify that the violations that are subject to this property were caused by the owners of the property. The property is currently in foreclosure, and the entity for whom I'm appearing is serving as the foreclosure trustee. So again, I just want to make it clear that these violations were not created by the lender or any of the entities associated with the loan, but were completely done by the owners of the property. And I just want to make sure that the lender is not subject to any type of liability.
Thank you. Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Brown, hold tight.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is item 1B.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to
Right, Mr. Brown, 1B. Correct?
1B, that's correct.
So, Mr. President, if I can ask that this matter be continued for 30 days, I'd be happy to talk to Mr. Brown, have my representatives from my staff talk to him about what the situation is, and if we can bring it back in 30 days when we come back.
Does that work, Madam Clerk?
Yes, that would be July 27th.
So that you have until July 27th, Mr. Krikorian's office, you can have dialogues with them, and hopefully we can resolve the matter.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
This particular law firm make contact with Mr. Krikorian.
Fine. Okay, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, and for identification purposes only, Chair of Hollywood for Steve Barr for Mayor. This is number 1, hearing protests, appeals, objections to building safety. I've said before, you do a very good job. These are a lot of liens here. Most of them are deserving of liens. Because they're just not doing their job, the landlord. You're doing an excellent job. John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org, Steve Barr for Mayor.
Okay, I have another card. I can't make out the last name. Is it John? Please come forward.
Let's go through. Should be item Q on your agenda.
Okay, we'll go right ahead.
Okay, or dash S405. I've got a lien on my property, proposed lien on my property at 9200 Wilbur Avenue. It's just Wilbur Avenue, by the way. Point of interest, there is no north. It's just one road.
Okay.
And this is because of non-compliance. I'd been perfectly happy to comply if Building and Safety had told me what I had to comply with. All I got from them was a letter saying I've been inspected, it costs $350. If I don't pay them, they'll charge me another 250% late fee. So I then subsequently got a bill for $1,500, but still no information on how to fix the problem because they didn't.
John, what I'm going to do, why don't we continue your item for 30 days, July to July 27th. The council person from that area is not here today.
That's Mitchell
but
Linder.
His staff will, in fact, to my right, she's waving at you. If you chat with her, then maybe we can come to some arrangement. So, Madam Clerk, we'll continue that item to July 27th as well.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So that ends public comment on this item. Let's prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Let's go to item 38. Mr. Herman, I have a card from you on item 38. Mr. Herman, item 38.
Here I am, Herbie. Here I am. 1 minute. 1 minute only. From the Chief Legislative Analyst and the resolution to relevant establishing the city position.
City positions regarding AB 898. Who better than Batman in Sacramento yesterday talking to Mr. Mark Leno regarding ABs? Who better to speak in Sacramento on behalf of the public yesterday in Sacramento, suffering in the heat of 104, other than I, your favorite constituent, Mr.
Herbie. So going back into adopting the problem of council action, resolution by Krikorian, the GOAT, and Mr. Big Ears is not here right now, but we have Mr. Dawson on this paperwork talking about supporting AB 898 Gonzalez, which would give relevant decision for suitably hearing the Board of Parolee hearings. Well, you heard Mr. Hunt. He says you want to put him in jail as a parolee again. Why do you put restraining orders on people like you did to Wayne Spindler?
No, you got to stay on the subject.
About parolees.
No, you got to stay on the subject.
Parolee hearings must give fucking written notice on the hearing to the department that employed the dangerous decreased firefighting systems of bad parole hearings. Once again, subject to the concurrence of the mayor. Mr. Speaker, I waive a generous amount of 6 seconds back to you. The floor is yours.
Okay, let's, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would just hope that the imbecilic comments of the Speaker don't distract attention from the very important legislation that we're considering
One
today.
second. Mr. Herman, I'm warning you for disrupting this meeting. Back to you, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, for over 30 years, California state law has required that when the killer of a police officer is considered for parole, that the law enforcement agency be notified of the parole hearing. But there's no, as it should be, there's no similar provision for the killer of a firefighter. And in our city, for example, this council acted when Mario Catano was up for parole a couple of years ago. He was the arsonist who was responsible for the death of Tom Taylor in North Hollywood. And there are similar situations throughout California where an arson murderer is up for parole and there's no requirement that the fire department be notified of that. Fortunately, in that case, because this council acted, we were able to make sure that Mario Catano was not paroled. And Assemblymember Gonzalez has a bill that would require that notification statewide. So I'd ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, now let me look to Mr. Harris Dawson and Mr. Huizar. I'm going to move to item 14. At this time, I do have cards. We've had a couple of hearings in committee. Public comment, I believe, on this matter has been satisfied, but we will reopen the hearing for an additional 10 minutes, 1 minute each. And I want to start off, if that's okay with you, I think we'll take the public comment out of the way. And we'll start off with Tommy Newman and Chris. These are people that I'm getting to see you guys so much. I know you might first names. Welcome.
Good morning, council members. Tommy Newman, LA Family Housing. We're the largest affordable housing developer and homeless service provider in the San Fernando Valley. We just want to applaud everybody for all their hard work getting to this point. We love seeing the legislative process wind its way through, and I think that what you have, the resolution in front of you today, is a great result, a great outcome. We're in strong support of it. The only other point that I wanted to make is that we believe, and we know the CAO and the CLA are going to be working on this as well, that a bond can be more flexible than perhaps we've initially thought. And we have some other examples across the state where bonds have been used in the way that we're describing here. So we just want to make sure everybody knows that we're on board with it. We think it's great, and we think a bond is a great solution. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can get a Mayhay, I think Riston.
Good morning, Council. It's great to be with you. Chris Coe from United Way. Yesterday we had 40 speakers represent every sector, and on behalf of that growing coalition, we want to thank you for the amendments made. We think it's made it tremendously stronger, and today we just wanted to urge you to take one final step toward that. We think that step could look like a $1.5 billion bond with 90% dedication to PSH and targeting to no more than 50% AMI. Each increment of $100 million, though, we think is critical because each increment of $100 million builds over 500 permanent supportive housing units, which is enough housing for the chronically homeless population of roughly 2 council districts. So even in the increments, we think those are vital numbers. But we wanted to thank you for your consideration on these matters. We look forward to winning this bond with you in November, and thank you.
Thank you. So I'm looking for Alicia Witzling and Janet Denise Kelly. Yes.
Hi, I'm Miha Risden with CSH. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to speak. In February, the City Council demonstrated incredible leadership by adopting the comprehensive strategy to end homelessness, which included the goal of creating 10,000 units of permanent supportive housing over the next 10 years. I ask each of you to once again take bold actions as champions for Angelenos experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles by approving the resolution of necessity and approving a bond that raises the much-needed capital dollars to create permanent supportive housing. To ensure the bond is impactful and enables the city to reach functional zero, as stated in the homeless strategy, I ask that you increase the bond to $1.5 billion and dedicate 90% of the bond proceeds for permanent supportive housing unit creation, and also to restrict the AMI for the permanent supportive households to 50%. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I could have Ms. Witzling, Ms. Kelly, and if Reverend Blue is still here. Yes.
Hi, Alicia Witzling with LA Area Chamber of Commerce. Want to commend the Chamber for, again, taking this bold step to put a homelessness response bond on the November ballot. We're almost there. The amount that's funded right now, $1.2 billion, isn't going to house all of the chronic homelessness. We actually have the ability to house all of them if we just increase it up to $1.5 billion. And dedicate 90% to permanent supportive housing. We feel passionately about this as a Chamber of Commerce. We are committed to working with United Way on their Project Home for Good. Our members are asking us, what's going on with homelessness? How can we be of service? We believe that they will vote for this bond measure come November. We just ask that you increase it so voters have the option to actually solve the problem rather than just putting a Band-Aid on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly, followed by Reverend Blue, followed by Ms. Anderson.
Good morning. My name is Janet Kelly. I'm the Executive Director of Sanctuary of Hope, as well as a representative of the South Los Angeles Homeless Stay and Foster Care Collaborative. We want to thank you very much for making this tremendous big step towards introducing a bond. We feel that this is a very important measure that will house many homeless individuals as well as young adults. Also want to thank you for the amendments that were made yesterday as well. And with that being said, I really think we're on a pathway to ending homelessness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Reverend?
Reverend Oliver E. Bowie of Holman United Methodist Church and also a member of LA Voice. and stand here representing the faith community, and would like to say thank you to you, Mr. President, and all of the council members who have worked so hard up to this point. I'm here to also help champion you, but I want us to continue to push forward, even to, if possible, $1.5 billion on this, so we can do all that we can to end homelessness. I'm very thankful and grateful, even as I stand here, to be a part of the city of Los Angeles, as I see such a great effort to address homelessness. I don't believe that this is just a political play. I want to thank you because I really believe that your hearts are truly in this, and I want us to continue to work together that we may end homelessness all together. And also, I'd like to make sure that 90% is dedicated to permanent support.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I could get Ms. Anderson, Steve Renahan, and Carol Schatz, Alan Greenlee. Yes.
Amy Anderson, Executive Director of Path Ventures. I want to thank all of you for your leadership in bringing us to this point today. It's incredible that one of these proposals will likely appear before the voters in November, giving the Los Angeles community the opportunity to take action to address the crisis of homelessness. As I shared with the committee yesterday, the county of Santa Clara, with a quarter of the population of Los Angeles and the homeless population and half the total population of the city of Los Angeles, is also putting a $1 billion bond measure on their ballot in November. So clearly, that is not enough for the community, the city of Los Angeles, and we urge you to push the bond amount to $1.5 billion and to dedicate 90% towards chronically and homeless individuals.
Thank you. So if I could have the next speaker please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. My name is Steve Renahan. I'm with Shelter Partnership. Thank you for your leadership on the homeless issue and for trusting the voters of Los Angeles to do the right thing, to provide resources to produce permanent supportive housing to address chronic homelessness. For many chronic homeless, this housing is a matter of life or death. It's important in going to the voters that we go forth with a bond measure that's commensurate with the problem. And that's why we ask you to consider increasing the bond amount to $1.5 billion, dedicating 90% of it to the permanent supportive housing for chronically homeless, and targeting incomes no greater than 50% of area median. Thank you.
Okay. Is that Mr. Greenlee? Alan?
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. Once again, it's great to be here today. I'm very proud to be a citizen of LA with this great work that you guys are doing. Just reiterate our coalition's support for an increase to 1.5, targeting it folks at 50% or below. But really what's most important, let's get an affirmative vote. Let's get this thing on the ballot. Let's win in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So is it Azadeh Husseinian? And please correct me on that.
Thank you. Azadeh Husseinian from Public Counsel, a legal service provider located in CD10, where in just the Olympic Division of the LAPD, there are an estimated 400 unsheltered individuals living in encampments. Homelessness impacts many of our clients, whether they are veterans, youth, immigrants, and families. In fact, we assist individuals who reside just along the streets outside of our office with public benefits and helping them fight criminalization. But what they need the most for their health, safety, and stability is permanent supportive housing. The city must address this critical need by ensuring funding for permanent supportive housing. Public Counsel strongly supports City Council preparing and placing a $1.5 billion bond to construct permanent supportive housing for individuals who are chronically homeless. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Christopher Kim.
Good morning, sirs and madams. My name is Christopher Kim, a citizen of Los Angeles. I am all for this general obligation bond to help the homeless and clean up the city. But only thing is that every time we need money, we go straight to the issuing of bond. General obligation bond obviously comes from our taxes. Instead of doing that, why can't we create money from other sources, like this Proposition D? There's definitely a demand. Southern California has the 8th biggest market and the demand for cannabis. And LA City has 1/8 of that demand-wise, just on demand only. So instead of just issuing bond after bond after bond where it comes from our taxes, why don't we just create money from businesses? So that's what I wanted to bring out. And also, just, okay.
Thank you.
Next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the 10 minutes of the additional hearing. All of the other cards will be placed in the record. I'd like to, as the committee chair, commend all who've worked on this issue. The Homelessness and Poverty Committee, headed up by Mr. Harris Dawson and co-chaired by Mr. Huizar, all of the advocates that have come down through all of our hearings, and to all of the other members of the council that have weighed in and given their opinions on how to proceed with this. And I'm comfortable with where we are. I think we have a pretty fair product where it relates to this bond, but I'd like to hear at this point from the chair, Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and thank you to our entire city family that worked on bringing us to the point that we are today. I especially want to call out the members of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee that we were able to produce a strategic plan that gave us a target. We were able to do that in cooperation with the County of Los Angeles. The thing about the strategic plans that I think is important to point out here is the strategic plans work together in a way so that there's a pretty clear division of labor between Los Angeles City and Los Angeles County. The monster share of our responsibility comes with regard to providing housing. And so when we looked at our plan, which totaled about $2 billion over 10 years, we looked at what piece of this can we reasonably get done, and what's a reasonable ask, what's a reasonable investment to ask the voters to make in a way that will, one, deal with people who are homeless, but also provide relief to communities all over the city that are worried about encampments on corners and alleys behind mini malls and all the rest. And so we arrived at two issues, one of which we're considering today. One is a general obligation bond that will help us build literally thousands of units for the hardest to house people. We've been able to come up with a product that makes sure a significant portion or the monster share of the proceeds go to providing houses for the people that are most difficult to house. In addition to that, I want to thank Mr. Cedillo for continuing to point out the interconnections between homelessness and the lack of affordable housing in the city. We have a portion of the proceeds that will go to deal with our affordable housing crisis. So what's before you today is, I guess, enabling legislation that will allow us tomorrow to vote on placing a bond on the ballot. Folks should know that we're also put up a parcel tax as an option, which we'll vote on later in the week. We put that up because there were some differences of opinion about should we be 100% in the business of developing housing for homelessness, or should we have some other things that are a part of that? The parcel tax allows us to do that in some ways, and so we'll discuss that later. But again, I want to just make sure everybody that has participated in this process is acknowledged. I want to thank the advocates for pushing us, all the members of the committee for helping shape what we have in front of us today.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I truly believe that today is a historic, seminal day for the city of Los Angeles. Well, a day when people will look back and say that's when the council decided to dedicate itself to helping those people most in need. And we got here today after this council agreed months ago that it would move forward to even begin to look at how we approach homelessness. For many decades, this city has neglected serving our homeless. We had a strategy of responding to endless litigation about how we put our resources and where and how we react to that litigation, rather than having a proactive strategy in how we're going to end homelessness in the city of Los Angeles. So we put our minds together, and working with all our colleagues on the City Council, we adopted the strategic plan for the city of Los Angeles. What's unique about it, as Mr. Harris Dawson pointed out, is that we worked with the county, another agency that is responsible for addressing the needs of homeless here locally. And we paired up our strategies such that we looked at our responsibilities given to us here in the city through our charter and through their charter, and we talked about how we could better approach homelessness given our respective duties. Our comprehensive plan did have a price tag, as Mr. Harris Dawson said, a huge price tag, but we committed when we adopted that plan to find a permanent revenue stream to put the money where those recommendations are. And what we're doing today is doing just that. There's a lot of moving parts to how do we address homelessness, but I think what we have before us is the best approach given the circumstances we find ourselves in. As we put this money forward, we'll be able to build housing, which is needed, one of the most biggest needs for our homeless population. It's unfortunate that out of the 1,000 homeless people, out of every 1,000 homeless people that have a voucher to get housing, about 25% can go find that housing. We leave many people on the street because they cannot get that roof over their head or that permanent supportive housing that we know has worked and a model that has worked, and we're hoping to emulate and create more of those types of housing units. So I'm very proud of the work we've done. I think overall this is the best we can do, the best option, but it is going to be a very good one as we will see in years to come. Now, what I also like about this is that after hours of deliberation, we have come up with a 80-20% split. A 20% split that would go to anywhere between 0 to 80% AMI for affordable housing. The other 80% is committed to those individuals that are homeless, and that we will hopefully provide more permanent supportive housing for them. I think that split is a good way to move forward given our legal requirements, and also the need to acknowledge that some people will come out of homelessness and need that additional higher AMI support. And that approach, I think, is due to the input of many other council members that have also had concerns about affordable housing. And I would hope that should this bond or parcel tax be successful in the November election, that even now, given all the work we've done in affordable housing, that we'd find a permanent revenue stream to build more affordable housing throughout the city. This council has been successful through many initiatives, Mr. President, as you have led us. Whether it's DWP reform with Mr. Fuentes and others who have led those efforts. We're tackling an issue one by one, but this one here is something we could particularly be all proud of because it takes care of those Angelenos that are most in need. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for your work on this. Let me first thank Mr. Huizar and Mr. Harris Dawson for really pushing this and making sure that we got here today, for their leadership. First, as the first chair of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee and as the current chair of the Homelessness and Poverty Committee. We have spent a considerable period of time over the past year coming up with a comprehensive homelessness strategy and making a promise that we would find $100 million in the fiscal year budget, the coming fiscal year's budget, to deal with homelessness. And then we did better than that. We came up with $138 million. And we need an ongoing and a regular funding stream. And the first two people who stood up and went out there in public and came up with a proposal, Mr. Huizar and Mr. Harris Dawson, and I want to thank you for that. It wasn't easy going. It's always unpopular to make a big ask like this, but it was the right thing to do. And Mr. Wesson, I want to thank you for the way that you steered this to passage and brought this for us today. As you know, I stood up last week and I had concerns with how it was shaped last week. I'm considerably happier with how it looks today. $100 million more for housing here in Los Angeles for the homeless. And the most important change that was made was a fundamental change that means everything in the world about whether or not this was going to be a sound proposal or a proposal with a lot of holes in it, is the tighter definition and the commitment that 80% of this money goes for housing for the homeless. Absent a definition and absent a commitment in the bond for that, it wouldn't have happened. And the fact that that is in here now in the new language is huge and is profound. And again, Mr. Wesson, thank you for making sure that that happened. We have a long way to go in addressing homelessness. We have a very long way to go. It's not going to get fixed next year, and this funding stream itself is not going to solve it. We're going to need to work harder, and we're going to need to do more. This isn't the perfect solution either. The perfect solution, I think, would have been the county-wide millionaires tax, which the governor is stubbornly refusing to allow the county to pursue. But we have before us two very smart options to pursue, the general obligation bond and the parcel tax. The parcel tax, much more flexible and gives us a lot more opportunity to do more than housing and do other things to serve homelessness in Los Angeles. But these are the right two things for us to be moving forward on, and I look forward to us narrowing it down to one, and I look forward to talking to the voters to make this happen. Because what's happening now in Los Angeles is that there is a hunger for solutions. And I have sensed a big change in the past year as the city and the county have come together, as our Senate president and our Senate leadership, and as our Assembly Speaker and our Assembly leadership have all rallied around this issue, so has the public. The public has faith that we have the commitment, and the public has faith that we have a plan and a strategy, and they're willing to invest. And our only opportunity, I think, is to strike now in November while that window of public support is open. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank Mr. Huizar and Mr. Harris-Dawson, our Council President, Mr. Wesson, Mr. Bonin, and the rest of the Council for moving this forward. What I wanted to say is essentially what Mr. Bonin said at the end of his testimony. This has been a problem for decades. It's a little worse. It's a little more visible. But we were talking about this 30 years ago in L.A. and across the region, and there's one big difference. People are asking for solutions, and they're asking to help. And I am actually getting people that are saying they want to contribute to something. As Mr. Bonin said, they want to invest in a solution. And this is very different. This problem has existed for as long as I've been active in government, but I've never seen constituents that want to be partners as much as we have right now. They want this solved, and they want to help, and I believe the bond issue is the answer to that. I know we're going to move forward with both, but I am convinced that one is the solution. I hope that's the one that we ultimately put on the ballot, and I am confident if we put that on the ballot, our partners, the residents of the City of Los Angeles, will pass this and take a major step towards solving a problem that we've talked about solving and tried to solve for decades and only made minimal progress. So as Mr. Huizar said, I think this is a great historic day, and let's pass this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Kretz. And to wrap this up, I think we should make it crystal clear that we all believe that the best approach would be a regional approach, and we've said that on numerous occasions, but it does not look like that regional approach is going to occur. Not because there hasn't been a lot of hard work, because there really has been. But what we cannot do is sit idly by while others are trying to hash things out. This council has been a leader on this issue. I believe we're here today because of the actions of all of you seated around this horseshoe, that leadership is not about doing what you want to do. Leadership is about doing what you have to do. And I'm just proud that we're moving forward and trying to set an example that I believe will have a positive effect throughout the state. So that's it. I see there's another speaker on the queue. Mr. Fuentes?
Mr. President, I have a couple of questions for staff if Mr. Santana
Please
would
bring
make
them up.
And as Mr. Santana is coming up to the center table, let me begin by thanking, obviously, everybody who's been involved in this process, but in particular the CAO's office. Mr. Santana, I think you've done a tremendous job given the political considerations that have been put on your office, most recently on this issue that clearly is worse than it ever has been in the city and the county of Los Angeles. The statistics are staggering. I mean, we've heard them over and over again. And most recently, the Los Angeles Times highlighted how even just unfortunately, 1 in 10 Cal State students is homeless. And so many more that are vulnerable. So this is a problem that clearly is a huge challenge for all of us. But I think as important as it is for us to understand that we're doing something today that hopefully will make some solutions here, I have to ask a couple of questions that I'm still pretty unclear on. And I will be very, very honest. I still don't know how I feel about the bond approach. I got some real reservations about the inability that the city of Los Angeles will have to actually provide services with a bond, which is why I favor a parcel tax. Now, I understand that there's also the political consideration as to what will pass and what won't, and that's very important. But it shouldn't drive the policy. What should drive the policy is making sure that we do, Mr. Santana, what it is that you've suggested that we begin to do. No longer do a maintenance of effort on homelessness like you pointed out to us, $100 million in touching the situation, but move towards a position where we're actually deriving solutions and actually solving, or at least moving the city of Los Angeles towards solving the problem. In the reports, and unfortunately I don't have the benefit of sitting in some of these committees that have seen some of these reports, but to me I'm concerned about a couple of areas. And let me sort of put it around this context. When we passed the rate case with DWP, we made it so with the benefit of the ratepayer advocate that we would not ask for more than we could actually spend. And so understanding that sort of framework for taxpayers, how is it that we have methods in the bond to make sure that we don't get more than we can actually spend? And it begs a lot of questions. It begs the need for us to make sure that our community plans are updated. It makes the case clear that we need to begin to move our housing agenda, which we have not done, whether it's linkage fees, whether it's inclusionary zoning, whether it's value add. Those are things that help us today stem the tide towards homelessness. And those are policy questions that are before us, and this council should begin to move the conversation on those post-haste. But it still comes back down to brick and mortar. So when we begin to ask the question and ask voters for some allocation of dollars, when we ask for those bricks and the mortar to build this housing for homelessness, it still begs a question on how it is that we're going to provide services. So the 80% restriction to permanent supportive housing, I think, is really important. And we should put a little in the kitty for affordable housing. But how is it that we're going to compel developers to use those dollars for permanent supportive? Because we'll put up the brick and mortar piece of it, but how is it, aside from not-for-profit developers, which I strongly favor, and I don't think we can discriminate in terms of which developer we prefer, but clearly the only way that this is going to work is if the developer that comes to avail themselves of this bond proceeds is one that's going to have the capacity and already the funding streams, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, whether it's foundation, they will have the funding streams to provide the permanent supportive housing. So I could see under that regime how this could work. But absent that, we won't have the ability to move the market in a way that will make it so that we have the permanent supportive housing. The one thing that I've learned in my time in government when it deals with homelessness, no matter what we do, the most important element is our service providers. It is their ability to touch lives, to compel them, to cajole them, to move them to a place where we might be able to help with housing. Absent that, we're just going to spend an awful lot of money. So I have real concerns about the service delivery provision of this. I also want to understand what the latest is with the county and the state and their funding measures. I know that you've alluded to it in some of the reports, but I think we still are I'm hopeful that there's a regional approach to this. I don't know how this works without a regional approach. The courts have made it so that the city of Los Angeles has now bought the delivery of services for homelessness in the Jones case and Levon case, and that's unfortunate because that is not our job. Service delivery is not the city of Los Angeles's job. So we've got to figure out how to make sure that we're partnering, and I'd like to know what the funding measure schemes for the other government partners are doing. And the last question that I'd ask is, how do we make sure that we're not supplanting funds? I know that you've made the allusion here to it in some of the reports, but by the time we put together the annual allocation and that process, how do we make sure that we're not spending this easier money than spending the money that's a little bit more difficult? Because ultimately, colleagues, I think what it is that we're hired to do is solve problems, but when I talk to voters, all they want me to do is figure it out. These dollars are so hamstringed, and as much as I'm tempted to go and ask the question of the voters for this proceed approach, I'm not sure how it's going to fare in terms of actually helping us solve the problem. So as a taxpayer, as a volunteer representative, I'd like to get a better sense before I can support a bond.
Okay, well, I'll take a stab at answering those questions. First, to be clear, both approaches will work. Both a parcel tax and a housing bond will work to address the problem that your council has identified and has committed to through the strategy adopted formally by your council. They just approach the problem in different ways. On the housing bond, the city would develop a very extensive program to start purchasing property and building partnerships with developers to develop those properties for permanent supportive housing and other kinds of housing. It is clear in the way it's written that the priority will be for the homeless and for permanent supportive housing. And it follows the model that we're currently doing on the parcels that have been identified in the budget. The city, your council adopted through the budget the identification of about a dozen different properties throughout the city. We're currently, before you shortly will be a report from the Municipal Facilities Committee that recommends issuing an RFQ to select a series of developers who could potentially develop those sites or tell us the best use for those sites. We would have to magnify that approach several times over. Concurrent to doing that, we're also forging a partnership with the county to provide the services from the onset. So in many ways, through the housing bond approach, the city would act somewhat of a matchmaker role, partnering developers with services through the use of land that the city would acquire and then enter into long-term leases. Services will be provided with the housing bond. They will be provided within those facilities. So when a homeless individual or a formerly homeless individual is seeking mental health treatment, drug and alcohol treatment, and other kinds of services like vocational training, and the most successful models provide those services on site, and they will be provided by funding streams supported by the county and the state. This dovetails with what the state's already doing. As you may have read, the state is supporting, the governor supports a measure known as No Place Like Home, which commits mental health dollars for this purpose to provide services and housing for those who suffer from mental illness. And as it relates to what the county is doing, the county is still pursuing options to strengthen the funds that are available to them. They're still considering a possible measure this November. They're certainly considering one in March. And so they unfortunately, their schedule is different than ours. They don't need to make these decisions until after you do. But as Mr. Wesson has indicated, should the county pursue a measure for November, because you have until mid-August to make a final determination, at that point you could decide which measure you move forward with based on what the county ends up doing. Because in the ideal sense, the city would be supplementing the county's role. And that's still an option for you. The parcel tax gives you greater flexibility. So in addition to being able to purchase property and to help build housing, the city can also use these funds to operate emergency shelters, operate the storage capacity that we've done. Think about it as a general fund source of revenue committed for homeless services. And so it allows the city that kind of flexibility that initially a housing bond doesn't. If the city were to pursue a housing bond and want to broaden the definition of what's permissible, we do have to go through a legal procedure to do so, and that takes oftentimes several months to a year to complete. If you move forward with a housing bond and it is voted by the public, the bonds are not issued until we need them. So it's not like we borrow over $1 billion and put that money into an account. Bonds are issued as projects surface, as your council develops a strategic plan around how to spend those funds, and then we go to the market in tranches. So we're trying to avoid a situation where we're borrowing more than what we need, and it's directly tied to direction and action from your council as to what tranches. Essentially, what the voters would be approving is the authority to issue bonds based on a certain up to a certain dollar amount, and the schedule of which how they're paid off varies depending on how much bonds we issued at any given time. And as part of the many attachments that you have, it shows a potential schedule of what it could look like. Ultimately, we won't know until we actually go to the market. And the final point that you raised, I think I got all of them, is in relation to supplanting funds that are currently committed. This measure makes it clear that any ongoing funds that the city is currently committing for homeless services and housing has to remain intact. So your council through the budget and the mayor has made a commitment to homelessness. There was a portion of the budget for next year that was ongoing, a portion of it that was one time, and make sure that the ongoing portion stays in place. And so that's a way of protecting ourselves from that.
Mr. Santana, given your experience with the county, I feel good about the potential for partnering with the county and the state, but you mentioned in the service delivery portion of this that they would supply the funds and or the service delivery. I'd want to figure out how to cement that a little bit more so that we know that we can do that. So to me, that's still an outstanding issue. And I know that there's a thinking here that we will move this forward and at some point we will choose between the two. In my short time in City Hall here, I don't know how that process works. And so it'd be good for me to know from a clerk's perspective or yours how it is that we can actually do that. Because would that be another council action to decide between one or the other? To me, that's really important to be clarified. And the last thing that I'd say is that as we're still perfecting this, the existing framework that we have with a Joint Powers Authority within LAHSA, to me, seems to be the smartest way to funnel this money. Now, I understand that it's the money that the city of Los Angeles is asking its residents and voters to provide, and so we want to maintain some control over those decisions. And the advisory committee is smart. The annual allocation plan is very smart. The debt impact statement is very important. But the marriage between the service delivery and the brick and mortar, to me, is absolutely crucial. And to me, the JPA process that we've got, just off the top of my head, is one that seems to be already worked and could help us navigate all of this. Other than that, I still, there's got to be a way for us to be marrying those service deliveries with the brick and mortar. That's the only thing that sticks in my mind that's problematic about this approach. So if you can help me, then I'm happy to support it.
I'll answer your last question, and then the CLA will answer the question as to the subsequent action that will be taken in mid-August. So as part of the strategic plan that you directed, included a provision to continue to work closely with the county to institutionalize the collaboration that has been occurring over the last year. And certainly LAHSA becomes a natural place for that to occur. And LAHSA is our partner in many ways. What we envision is that as the city proceeds, which whatever revenue source ultimately gets approved, that how those funds are allocated are informed by an annual report that it's done in collaboration with LAHSA, with the county, and with the nonprofit community that is essential in delivering these services. So the collaboration that you've seen so far will not end should this matter proceed forward. LAHSA does not have the authority to ask the voters of Los Angeles to approve these measures. It's within your authority to do so. And as you pointed out, LAHSA services more than just the city of LA. It services the larger region. But they are an important part in delivering this program. For example, the coordinated entry system, which is really where you have one person connecting to another person to convince them to go into housing, is being supported by LAHSA and the network of community-based organizations that they provide. Both the county and the city recognize that that's a critical role.
And the last thing that I wanted to sort of, I'm sorry, Karen, but I just want to make sure it's not omitted here because it seems that it's pretty thorough. But there is a new model that I think is critically important to servicing homeless folks, and that's the recuperative care model. And thank you for your willingness to come out and see what that looks like. And colleagues, that means that folks who are discharged from hospitals who are too sick to be placed anywhere else go into I want to make sure that we don't omit that in the homeless sort of housing part of it. It's not explicit, so as you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, if we could make sure that that is also eligible for some of this, that'd be good.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Karen.
No problem. With regard to your question about taking an item off of a ballot, the county sets forth deadlines for both requesting measures be placed on a ballot and removing items that are on the ballot. The deadline for removing the ballot measure is August 17, but the council does have to take action on that, so the practical deadline for the council would be around August 12th. So there would have to be a council action, and it would have to be delivered to the county by their deadline.
So we're going to vote again?
In August or sooner.
Okay.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. Just to add to what Mr. Santana replied, with respect to the program that will be created with the funds through a bond, one process is, as Mr. Santana described, which is for the city to work with developers to identify land. Perhaps we do long-term leases. It's still, we could get very creative as to how that happens. But the one other process that I wanted to describe is, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it, Mr. Santana, that we would go through a court proceeding to validate our ability to get a homelessness trust fund so that we could provide loans and grants the way we currently have our affordable housing trust fund, which we have very little money in. But that will also, if we do it that way, that's another process or program that we can create, but we have to go through a court proceeding to validate our ability to do that. So I think these are two dual tracks that we go on programs that the city will create to be able to provide the permanent supportive housing with the bond monies. And my second point I wanted to add to what Mr. Santana raised is that it's in terms of the service provisions, it's not only the county that we will work with, but perhaps the developer that is providing the permanent supportive housing, they already have service providers that they work with. There's a number of affordable housing, permanent supportive housing developers that have their own non-governmental service providers that can do that, or the city can work with those service providers as well. So it's not only the county that we will need to solidify our working program to provide the services, but it's also the number of service providers that are out there already that could provide this service and work with us to provide the service. Now, I'm concerned that if we go down the path of providing more of our limited dollars to the service provisions, which I would love to do it, because in fact, a third of our homeless population have mental health issues. That's probably one of the most critical needs out there. But it is not within our responsibility, given our charter. We could start going in that direction, but with a county that is given the majority of funds from the federal and state government to provide health and human services, and we need to work with them to continue providing that dollars, and we should be very careful if we start going down that path about providing those services ourselves. But we have, I think, a model that we either work with a county or we work with other non-governmental service providers with respect to the services at these housing units.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what's before this body?
Before Council are the committee recommendations from the Rules, Elections, Intergovernmental Relations, and Neighborhoods Committee. There is a revised resolution of necessity for the general obligation bond of $1.2 billion as submitted by the City Attorney per Council direction. And there's a verbal amendment in regards to parcel tax resolutions and ordinances.
Okay, then all of this can be done in one vote?
That is correct, but for the record, may I read the amendment?
Please.
And the amendment is in regards to the parcel tax resolutions and ordinance. There's a request to the city attorney to report to council tomorrow, June 29th, with documents reflecting the proper tax rate based on square footage of improvements. That will generate approximately $90 million and make all necessary changes. If the square footage of improvements is unavailable, then the city attorney should report with the tax rate for square foot per parcel.
Okay. With that said, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Good work, everyone. Let's now move to item 37. Ms. Ramirez. 36, I'm sorry. Ms. Ramirez and Mr. Gus on item 36.
Number 30, oh goodness gracious.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Number 36, sorry, got me off. This happens all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Silver Lake and Echo Park is going to need more than maintenance and lightening. It is a cesspool of sheer human degradation, drug infestation, and urban filth. It is a total blight, utterly atrocious. You've got your gays, wetbacks, and chango gangbangers, white trash junkies. It's a Skid Row in a white trash version. It's ugly and it's filthy. I am surprised that nothing has been done to clean this trashy cesspool. I can tell you 30 years ago I used to go there and it was clean. You had a lot of low-income wetbacks, but you didn't have it as bad as it is today. You got caca all over the streets. It is filthy. It is ugly. The bus benches are deplorable. If I would trash that whole city, close it, lock it up, and put Agenda 21 and lock it up. Really, it is filthy. The stores like the Walgreens, the Lassen's stores, all the stores around that area truly are disgusting, filthy, and it's just the surfaces are, again, you're worried about MRSA. You're worried about scabies. You're worried about staph infections. You're worried about touching anything and everything. If I'm on the bus, I do not get off at Echo Park or Silver Lake. Really, Mitch O'Farrell, you ought to be ashamed.
Stay on that. Get back on the subject.
Is truly, you need more than maintenance. You need more than street lighting. You need a whole bleach to disinfect the whole area. It is filthy. It is awful. It is atrocious. It is infrastructure gone berserk. It is, God, we need Donald Trump to clean this place up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gus. Mr. Gus. Mr. Gus passes. Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
37. If we could get Mr. Walsh, Mr. Herman, and Mr. Hunt on item 37.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or tweeting at HollywoodDems for information purposes, identification purposes only, Chairman of Anybody But Garcetti.
Stay on the committee.
This is
on the subject.
removing various properties from rent escrow account program. Again, I've said on a number of occasions, you do a good job for the renters. This keeps the landlords on their toes. If there's a code violation in your apartment and the landlord doesn't remedy it, then your rent doesn't get paid to the landlord anymore. It gets paid to the city. And you should see how fast the landlords start cleaning up and getting rid of the violations when that occurs. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, Mr. Herman. And I'm told you have a minute.
Well, I don't think you know how to count. But rent escrow account programs are excellent for the residents of Los Angeles because you hold the rent when scumbags accuse, allege, and make false testimony to throw your fucking ass out on the street like they did to Herman.
Okay, you got to stay on the subject.
In CD9, 230 East 74th Street, that's one poverty pimp there. There's another poverty pimp in CD10. CD10, 1262 South Cochran Avenue. What a cock-sucking fool. Taking all these poor people money for rent escrow. Like John Walsh would say, Hollywood Highland Joddams, if you do a goddamn good job, we support you. When you don't do a good damn job, Mr. B says, bah, bah, do your job, budget man.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hunt. 37. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Go to 39, Mr. Walsh, followed by, Mr. Herman's out of time. Okay, followed by Mr. Hunt.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. These are final maps of track numbers. It's very important for you to take a look at a final map, everybody, especially if you live west of La Brea, where they treat you like shit. If you live east of La Brea, where you get treated like shit. If you live west of La Brea and you're Jewish, don't worry. You don't even have to check the map. They're on your side, the white people. And I ought to know I'm white. Final map for these track numbers. This is North Alvarado, because they switch things here, and all of a sudden you see a huge shopping mall going up across the street. It's because you didn't check the final map, and because your skin is brown or black or Asian. And that's what you have to realize. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Next speaker, Michael Hunt. Is Mr. Hunt here? No, he's not here? Okay. Oh, Mr. Hunt passes. Okay, that concludes cards on this item. Madam Clerk, can you open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote?
12 ayes.
Let's move on to item 2. First speaker is Mr. Hunt on item 2. Mr. Hunt, are you speaking? No. Okay, he passes. Next speaker is Yvonne Michelle Autry on item 2, followed by Dan.
Yes, thank you so much for allowing me to address this issue. I'm from Inglewood. My name is Yvonne Michelle Autry, and in Inglewood, as in so many black neighborhoods, practically every other store is a liquor establishment, liquor store. Of course, you don't have that problem in white areas or predominantly Jewish or affluent white areas where Caucasian people are routinely stopped and they're handcuffed and without any apparent probable cause. But notwithstanding that, I think that there are enough liquor licenses. People should use their time to creatively express themselves in social gatherings. Again, not only to prevent or encouraging the abuse of alcohol and intoxication. Again, there are black people and people of color that are always and usually profiled. I haven't read an excessive number, if I don't know if any cases of white people that have been profiled for drinking while white on Art Walk with white wine in hand. I have numerous friends that have been harassed and have been stopped and have been groped and have been handcuffed because they're black people with a beverage. I don't drink, so I don't have that problem. And I think that's why I'm such a problem to you people, because you can't entrap me on that basis. However, again, I think that there are enough liquor licenses, again, in discouraging the abuse of alcohol and any type of criminally related activity that might result as a result of intoxication or inebriated individuals. Again, and discouraging and exposing the continual profiling of black people and people of color. When white people indulge in casual drinking and they're not profiled, they're not harassed by the police officers, which serve to harass and to stalk and to torture those of us that are problems that do not, I guess, adhere to that stereotype, so you can justify your creation of an all-white world, right? So again, and so that's, I think there are enough licenses.
Okay, next speaker is Dan.
Council members, or City Attorney, I see 6 council members, and a second ago there were 5. Do we have a quorum here? I see Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Rue, Martinez, and Mr. Price just came back.
Sir, can you please speak to the item 2?
Yeah, is the meeting going on is my question. Do we have a meeting? We have a quorum?
He's still not talking about the item.
I'm not talking about the item. Okay, it just seems that most of you guys are gone. Okay, let's talk about this then. Since most of the council members are not here, let's see. This is about a half mile south of the 10 freeway, half a mile west of the 110 in South Park, near a college campus, and you're saying that you want to grant another liquor license here, provided that it will not tend to create a law enforcement problem. Are you kidding me? Just how many murders and rapes and robberies have there been in this area immediately south of the 10, immediately west of the 110? Now, how many murders and how many liquor licenses are there in this area? Does anybody have that? You know, this is CD9. I understand. What are the statistics? I bet you have more murders that compares to the liquor licenses here. You are begging these people to be subjected to alcohol-related crime, rape, and robbery, and I'm going to use every second to make the public aware of that, because when you ask for the public's vote on other issues, and by the way, these things cause homelessness as well. And if you want our tax dollars to prevent these maladies, these social maladies, you have to explain why you're putting another liquor license in a high crime, a high murder, a high rape, a high robbery community. It doesn't matter that it's Trader Joe's. Alcohol is alcohol, and most of the council is not here.
Okay, that concludes cards for this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Let's move on to public comment. First speaker is Larry Jane, followed by Michael Hunt.
What number is it?
Ellie Jane, is that person here?
Is it general public comment?
Yes, it is general public comment. Larry Jane. Anyone here with that by that name? Seeing. Okay.
Oh.
What's your last name, man? It looks like a J.
Jane.
Jane. Okay. Go.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellery Jane, and I'm a resident of CD13. I'm here to comment on the 1850 North Cherokee Avenue Boutique Hotel project, for which there is a hearing this afternoon at 2:30. I'm speaking on behalf of my neighbors in Cherokee and CD13 constituents who are concerned with a pattern of converting rent-controlled units into commercial projects. Thus far, the community has spoken out with 2 petitions against this precedent-setting project, but our concerns have not been heard, heard with no action taken. Our Councilman Mitchell Farrell has stated that his concerns were with preserving this building. However, it has been discovered that the building's demolition permits have expired. While no one can force the owner to convert the building back to a residential one, the city can limit options as to what can be done with the building. Considering that many previous residents of 1850 never received their relocation benefits, as legally required, it is appalling that the city has done nothing to stop the project. In regards to the hearing this afternoon, We are concerned with issues relating to traffic, noise, and safety, and are asking that this project require a full environmental review. Please support this appeal. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Michael Hunt, followed by Christopher Carter.
The Red Chief Hunt for the record. I'm appalled at this restraining order. I get a restraining order for yelling at O'Farrell when he comes out in the alleyway and yell at me. Well, Brandenburg versus Ohio knows a little bit better than this. And Hunt versus the city of Los Angeles. You guys already lost $800,000 to me on some bullshit like this. Dion, me and you argue at each other all the time. We sit there and argue with each other. You don't act like a bitch, though. That's what I like about you. You're a man. You man the fuck up. If you got something to say to me, you man the fuck up. That's more appreciated than trying to put a restraining order that's never going to work. Stephen Rhodey and everybody else is laughing at the whole fucking city of Los Angeles, and you guys are wasting your money. I might as well get him some tampons. You know? Hey, if you a man, you can yell at me. I can take it. Don't start some shit you can't finish. Dion, you know better than that. We do it all the time. I ain't never threatened you.
Our next speaker is Christopher Carter, followed by John Walsh, followed by Antonia Ramirez.
Brothers and sisters, people around the world, the days are coming to an end. We ain't righteous enough in our hearts to grab a hold of our healing. This nation has been given a new beginning. They come with healings. We still have people on the streets. I was here last fall demanding and pushing for a meeting with this mayor. What, did it fall on deaf ears? I was delivered of a stutter. I feel my words are ordained as well as my actions. I want this meeting with the mayor. And you stand here and you look at me like I don't know what's going on. 42 kings and 1 queen ruled Israel before they was ruled by Babylon. This house of God has been ruled by 42 presidents, 1 Queen Hillary, and now we are ruled by Babylon.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Next speaker is John Walsh. Sir, your time is up. Your time is up. Sergeants, can you please show the gentleman to his seat? Sir, your time is up. Next speaker is John Walsh. Thank you very much, sir. You have a good day. Mr. Walsh, followed by Antonia Ramirez and Robin Line.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. Yesterday was a big day. Steve Barr officially entered the race for mayor. Garcetti had a slam dunk until yesterday. Steve Barr is a downtown player. That means downtown is divided against the mayor. And already the LA Times is sucking up the mayor's cock, calling Steve Barr a long shot. He's not a long shot. He's worth millions and millions of dollars. He's going to put huge amounts of money into this campaign, and he is the founder of Green Dot. He may very well whip the mayor's ass. That's why we're asking everybody to go to Steve Barr for mayor, find out about him. The race has started. We're asking for 5 debates all over the city. The mayor is scared shitless of Steve Barr.
The next speaker is Antonia Ramirez, followed by Robin Line and Prentice Jenkins.
Thank you. Operation Wetback. Please stop funding and rewarding these gang-stalking assholes, and they are the following psychopaths: the Black Panthers, the NAACP, the Black Caucus, All Negro Funds, Maldef, La Raza, Naleo, LULAC, Hermanidad Mexicana, Univision TV, Telemundo TV, Azteca TV, the Mexican Mafia, the Mara Salvatrucha, the Anti-Defamation League, the Jewish Defense League, the Israeli Mossad, Eli Broad, the ACLU, the Public Law Center, the Legal Aid, the Jewish Sanhedrin, the Jewish Beit Din, the Jewish Federation, and the double standard cronies: Herb Wesson, Mark Ridley Thomas, Jackie Robinson, Jackie Lacey, Kamala Harris, Loretta Lynch, Tia Tacos, Loretta and Linda Sanchez, Gloria Molina, Felipe Fuentes, and the Jose Huizar, Ben Hueso, Gil Cedillo, all Latino politicos, the Scottish Rite members, the Freemasons, the Templars, the witches and the Wiccans, the Satans, and the FBI and the CIA. They need a good double dose of jalapeno up their asses.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ramirez. The next speaker is Robin Line, followed by Prentice Jenkins and Armando Herman.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Line, and I'm here from my neighborhood. We're having an experience.
Can you get closer to the mic, ma'am? We can't hear you. Thank you very much. We're going to help hold our time.
All right. My name's Robin Line, and I'm here on behalf of my neighborhood and from our tenant association where I live. We're experiencing a lot of crime, a lot of robbery, and a lot of cleanup and is needed. And there's dumping and graffiti and on and on and on. And we have a church, we have schools, preschool, and it's a great community. And we have senior housing. And it's just been a concern and overwhelming about these problems. And they are safety related. I'm sorry I have to read because I'm a little nervous. And we'd like our community and our neighbors in our block a lot safer. And so I'm here to find out what can be done and if our items could be placed on the agenda to be addressed. One would be our 7-Eleven, which has females working late at night, no security. And just the robbery and the cleanup and dumping in the neighborhood. And if you could direct me as to, by putting these items on the agenda and letting us know, we'd like to resolve these issues.
Thank you, ma'am. The next speaker is Prentice Jenkins, followed by Armando Herman and Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Prentice Jenkins, publisher, City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. This is a picture of Waukesha Wilson. She died, or she was killed, in custody, in the jails. I would like the City Council to place on their agenda to compel the police chief, Chief Charlie Beck, to expedite this woman's investigation and also expedite the investigation of Ezell Ford, who was murdered by the LAPD, and Brendan Glenn. Find out what's going on with the investigation and have the City Council come back and tell the public what's going on with the investigation. If this were your daughter, you'd want to know what was going on, how she died. She died in custody. Whether it was a murder, whether it was suicide, we don't know. But that's what the woman looked like.
Thank you very much, sir. The next speaker is Armando Herman, followed by Yvonne Michelle Autry and Jacqueline Richardson.
Madam Speaker, I did make a request for accommodations to extend my time to 2 minutes. But the truth is, you don't care about the American Disability Act. You violate all rights of disabled and non-disabled people. But yesterday in the state capitol, who raised hell in the capitol? I did. Why? Why? In order to get reform in this council, Brown Act violation after Brown Act violation. And you accuse me of what? Bullshit. It's all bullshit. All these allegations and lies to deceive the public that we are 422 APC. Fuck that shit. That's right. I sat in the Capitol with Mark Keno. And Mr. Keno and I talked about $10 million in a bill, AB. AB, do you get it? AB 16. AB 16. No.
Your time is up. Your time is up, Mr. Herman. Next speaker is Yvonne Michelle Autry, followed by Jacqueline Richardson and Dan.
Yes, I'd also like to support Prentice in requesting that all evidence be exposed for the most recent victim that we have. Of course, I know the black woman ritualistically murdered, raped, and defiled. It's a ritual perpetrated not just by the one strawberry killer or Grim Reaper, but police also, sex slaves, of course, because of the sex trafficking ring. And it's black women. We are not men and boys, despite the shots, the shocks, the sprays that we are subject to every day. We are not seductresses, temptresses, coquetas, whores. We're not ritual harlots, no Hagar here in this white supremacy as you prepare for this new world order, and how that you are placing us and programming us in this ritual, and the disproportionate number of black women that are being sacrificed. So why aren't you releasing that evidence that proves that this was ritual? You are responsible. And there was just a meeting that was shut down. So it is on the record, and you are liable and responsible.
The next speaker is Jacqueline Richardson, followed by Dan. And Shauna Johnson.
I hear rumors, but I do not know for sure. I believe but don't know that Baca was falsely accused and that the FBI, in spite of their efforts, were wrong. The evidence, I believe, was wrongfully used. It may have been true in one instance, but not true in the other instance. I believe his problems were caused by an outside influence, and it didn't start within his department, and that neither he nor his men knew anything about the evidence used against him. I don't know Baca, but I don't believe he lied, nor did his department in regard to prisoner abuse. Baca, I don't know him, as far as I know, has spent 30 years, honorable years working in the department with honor, goodwill, and integrity. I don't believe he's changed. I hope a new evidence comes to light where he can be totally exonerated and his department members.
Next speaker is Dan, followed by Shauna Johnson and Luis Saldivar.
Yeah, council members, I have the #1 article on City Watch this morning about trickle-down deceit at City Council. And my next article is going to be on Huffington Post. It's going to be about why your homeless initiative that you just voted on and you puked up a bunch of sentiment over for the past half hour, why it's going to fail. It's going to fail, as somebody else on City Watch recently said, you have no credibility on housing issues. You have scores of Ellis Act violations that create homelessness. You lied about the Millennium Project. You have done nothing about mansionization. I hope Mr. Rue knows what's going on with mansionization in Sherman Oaks. They're still building them there today. You got density wrong. You have an empty apartment building that's by the old spaghetti factory because you didn't preserve the property right. Your reputation on homeless issues and affordability is going to be why your homeless tax is DOA. And I'm going to write about it on Huffington Post.
The next speaker is Shauna Johnson, followed by Luis Saldivar and Chelsea Kirk.
Good afternoon. My name is Shauna Johnson. I'm a resident of the Council District 13. I'm here to express opposition to the boutique hotel proposed for 1850 North Cherokee, a matter that will be coming before the Plum Committee this afternoon, and also for the full council vote tomorrow. Please hear the voices of this community and stand with us to support the appeal to require the city and the developer to identify the impacts that this project will have individually and cumulatively on homelessness and loss of housing stock. You have the choice to stand against the conversion of this building and negotiate a better outcome for everyone. If we are serious about addressing homelessness, the impacts of homelessness, smaller projects like this must be looked at in order to stop the displacement and homelessness of people in this community. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Luis Saldivar, followed by Chelsea Kirk.
Mr. President, members, and those still present, my name is Luis Saldivar. I was born in Hollywood, and I'm a resident of CD 13. I am a father, first and foremost, and I am also a member of HUNC, YATA, ACA, and LATU. I am here to comment on the proposed boutique hotel project at 1850 North Cherokee Avenue. I am asking you, Mitch O'Farrell, to please hear the voices of the local community and to stand with your constituents, not the developer. How do you expect your constituents to believe that you care about representing of preserving rent-stabilized housing when you are in support of this proposed project and wouldn't even meet with the people who have the most knowledge on the issues surrounding the project? And although you inherited the problem, you have a choice to take a stand against the conversion of this building and possibly negotiate a better outcome for Hollywood and its constituents. I am here to put you on check, Mitch O'Farrell. If you want to get reelected next year, you better start representing the people who elected you.
The next speaker is Chelsea Kirk.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Kirk, and I'm a resident of Council District 13. I'm here to address Council Member O'Farrell and the full council regarding the 1850 Cherokee project. There is rampant homelessness in Los Angeles. This is not an unknown issue. And the matter has only been exacerbated by such projects as the 1850 Cherokee project. I was not a tenant of 1850 Cherokee Avenue, but I'm a concerned resident of the community who's seen the consequences of such developments. Among the members of this community remains an overwhelming number of persons who are hurting economically as the city becomes increasingly more expensive to live in and the changing job market is not accommodating to the skill set of many Native community members. Development projects such as 1850 Cherokee are leaving these people who are already struggling to adjust to the community's rapid changes even more vulnerable by taking away their homes. Their paychecks, I imagine, cannot reconcile growing rent prices, yet another factor to consider. The 1850 Cherokee project has resulted in 2 tenants living on the streets, capable people who were once comfortable in leading humble lives. Such tenants have very little options after an eviction. Thus, it's no exaggeration to say they've had their economic security robbed.
Ma'am, I'm speaking to you. Sergeant, can you please show this young woman back to her seat? Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, that concludes public comment. What's before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Members, are there any announcements? Can we please all rise for adjourning motions? Any adjourning motions on my right? Seeing none, any adjourning motions on my left? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned.